A quiet dawn breaks at Sebring International Raceway on race day, but the smell of orange blossoms and campfires will soon give way to the thunder of over 30,000 horsepower and the quest for international racing glory.
In 1952, Florida businessman Alex Ullman wanted to bring the 24 Hours of Le Mans to the colonies. He came up with the 12 Hours of Sebring to do just that. For 60 years, the world's best have traveled to the Central Florida Orange Groves for the annual kickoff of the International Endurance Racing Calendar. Ferrari put an early stamp on Sebring, winning 7 of 9 races from 1956 to 1964. Ford fired the first salvos in its battle for international racing supremacy with Ferrari at Sebring. The boys from Dearborn won the first of 3 times in 1966. The 1970s and 1980s belonged to Porsche. The German car won 15 times. 13 consecutive wins between 1976 and 1988. In 1989, Nissan cracked the Porsche code, opening the doors to 6 years of Japanese victories. The new millennium brought the American Le Mans Series and more Teutonic glory. Audi has dominated with 9 victories, while Porsche and BMW claim 1 win each during the American Le Mans Series era. The 7th decade dawns today, and America's oldest endurance race has never been more relevant. The cutting-edge future of the automobile is on display as the world comes to Florida for the 60th time.
ESPN and the American Le Mans Series are proud to bring you coverage of the 60th running of the Mobil 1 12 Hours of Sebring, fueled by Fresh from Florida. Today's broadcast is brought to you by Chevrolet and the Chevrolet Corvette, celebrating 60 years of exhilaration. The countdown to the 60th running of the world's most iconic endurance events continues. Not only does Sebring mark the beginning of the season for worldwide endurance racing, this year it also marks the first round of a true world championship for sports cars, the World Endurance Championship. At Sebring, Porsche leads in overall victories with 18, but over the last dozen years, it has been Audi that has dominated with speed and endurance, having won 9 times with 3 different models. Today, Audi will start from the pole for their 10th time in a model new to the Sebring circuit, the Audi R18. And Jamie Howe has more from Audi.
In qualifying, Andre Lauderer surprised not only the competition but also his teammates in order to claim Audi's first Sebring pole position since 2008. Andre, it's going to be a long race. You've never raced here at Sebring. What are you expecting for the 12 hours?
Hopefully to stay out of trouble, because it will be a tough race. You know, we have 60 cars on track. We don't see so much out of the close prototype. So we really have to take it easy and approach this with a gentle manner. I expect a lot of mess, and try my best we try our best to stay out of it. The first 8 hours probably have to remain calm, and then hopefully be in a position to fight in the end.
One of those teams they'll be fighting with is Muscle Milk, and Rick de Bruyl is with them.
Well, if Audi is the Goliath, the team ready to play David is Muscle Milk. Klaus Graf, you guys just got your car 2 months ago. The only way you can really beat these guys isn't by speed, but reliability. Do you have that?
I think so. I think with the HPD car will be very reliable. I mean, this car is a development of many years of HPD LMP2 cars and the LMP1 car last year. So I think the Muscle Milk car should have the reliability. We've done a lot of testing. We had no reliability issues at all this week, so I'm pretty confident.
And think about this, that car, it's open cockpit, meaning he can see things to stay out of trouble.
Well, we welcome Justin Bell to our broadcast team, former Le Mans winner and American Le Mans Series competitor. Now, we've heard from the 2 protagonists in the P1 category, Audi and Muscle Milk. Justin, it's diesel versus petrol. We know Audi has the speed. Will they have the fuel mileage to do battle with the Muscle Milk team?
Well, of course, that's the question, because the speed differential between gasoline and diesel is the closest we've ever seen. Obviously, some of that is regulation. Some of it is the incredible development on behalf of the gas engines. I think we're going to see a race that is the average speed obviously works itself out with traffic, so I don't think they got much of an advantage. My outside money in Vegas would be on Muscle Milk.
All right, and you've competed in the GT category at Petit Le Mans 60 64 cars here. As a GT driver, what's your strategy to win this race?
Well, you've got three things going on. You've got this amazing battle to beat the people in your class. You have slower cars like the GTC Porsches that really do get in the way at certain critical points on the track. And then you have this assault, this bombardment by the Audis coming up behind. So you have your hands full. I think it's the hardest job on the track right now is to be a GT driver.
Well, Jimmy Bruni certainly mastered the GT class in qualifying on the GT pole the second year in a row. For more from the AF Corsa squad, let's go to Kelly Stavist.
Jimmy Bruni was the fastest GT qualifier for the second year in a row. He did it in record-breaking fashion. But Jimmy, last year's pole position did not result in a victory. What will be the most important factor in getting the win here today?
I mean, for sure, last year we had the old lady, the 430, and this year we have a new one. And I think I hope to stay all in one pieces the last 4 hours. And from there on, we can make a good race, I'm sure. We have to survive the first 7-8 hours, and after we'll start the race.
Jimmy's teammate Tony Vielander will get starting duties in the 51 Ferrari.
The top 5 cars in the GT category were all well below last year's track record, and GT Corvette Racing proved that they did their homework over the offseason, as their time by Jan Magnussen was 2.7 seconds quicker than the best at Sebring last year. Jan, what does this do for the confidence going into the race?
Well, I'm glad that we proved that the car's fast now, and Ferraris were a little bit faster, but I think we can fight with them in the race. But it's so competitive right now, and as you can see, in the lap times have gone down dramatically. So I'm looking for a really good race. I'm confident.
Johnny O'Connell joins us again this season for American Le Mans Series broadcast. With 64 cars entered this year, some changes needed to be made to the circuit. So Johnny, with the help of Forza Motorsports 4, will give us the details.
Brian, this year Turn 1 at Sebring is significantly different, and that's because of this. All these pit boxes, when they added all the cars for this year's race, it meant they had to give them some space to go, but it also meant that in order to make pit lane safe, they added this, an extension of the pit lane. Where I am standing now is where the cars used to be when they entered Turn 1. You can see right now, it's so much tighter. It's a tighter radius. They've got to be a little bit more careful when they turn in. They can't carry the momentum. It takes away passing zones. So Turn 1 is going to be much more difficult. Now, using Forza 4, I'm going to demonstrate the right way and the wrong way to go through Turn 1. Now here I am in my Corvette. Now on the straightaway I get into 6th gear, but as I go underneath the bridge here, you're gonna see a bunch of cones. Those cones aren't there now, it's a solid wall. But this is me driving in Forza the right line. I'm getting in close to my apex, using all the road both in and out, making my radius as big as possible. That makes the corner super fast. Now this time, I'm in top gear. Remember, those cones on the right are now a solid wall. That's gonna force me into an earlier apex. We have a saying, early in means early out. That's what I'm doing right here, running out of road into the dirt. We're gonna see that happen a lot in today's race.
Great shots from Forza Motorsports 4 and Sebring Hall of Fame driver Johnny O'Connell, and there's plenty of action left to go from here at Sebring. The countdown continues to the 60th running of this great event. We'll bring you plenty of history throughout the day, and John Hindhaugh and Jeremy Shaw will give you the race call when we come back.
The world-renowned racetrack known as Sebring International Raceway started life as the United States Army Air Force's training base called Hendricks Field. From 1941 to 1946, pilots there learned to fly the legendary B-17 Flying Fortress. After World War II, aeronautical engineer Alec Ullman saw potential in Hendricks runways to stage a sports car endurance race, similar to the 24 Hours of Le Mans. Sebring's 5.2-mile course included runways of the airport and roads within the old Hendricks Field complex, with hay bales and oil drums serving as borders for parts of the circuit. The first 12 hours of Sebring saw the likes of Ferrari, Cunningham, Jaguar, and Maserati, and it was the Fraser-Nash Le Mans replica Mark I, driven by Larry Kulak and Harry Gray, who took the very first checkered flag at the race that would quickly grow to one day become the greatest sports car race in America. All the excitement of the American Le Mans Series is back. Where technology races into the future and no man is better than his machine. Failure is always a threat when pushing development to its very edge, but survival makes success that much sweeter. This is where technology, passion, and danger meet to create a spectacular orchestra. The American Le Mans Series, presented by Tequila Patron, where the technology of speed and danger is everything.
Welcome back to the 60th running of the Mobil 1 12 Hours of Sebring, fueled by Fresh from Florida. Well, the atmosphere is building towards the start of the American Le Mans Series season, but Jeremy Shaw, there's even more at stake than that here this year, and it has historical significance too.
Well, it's tremendous. I mean, there's always a big grid here. The atmosphere on the grid is absolutely sensational. As you can see, the weather is perfect. But in addition to being the first round of the ALMS this season, it's also the first round of the new World Endurance Championship, taken over from the Intercontinental Le Mans Cup. And the first time since 1992, the FIA has run a World Sports Car Championship.
And appropriate that that first round of the World Championship is here at Sebring, because in just its second year of operation, 1953, the Sebring 12 Hours was a part of the original World Sports Car Championship. That swelled the group to 63 starters, so the keywords are
patience, and patience. You've got to get to the end of this race. Whichever team can minimize its mistakes both in the pit lane and particularly on the racetrack, because it's going to be so busy, they are going to be in position to win this race at Sebring.
Well, while we get back to the booth, let me introduce you to a brand new member of the ESPN 3 team, Taro Koki.
Thanks, John and Jeremy. So the team came together at the last moment, although you guys qualified first. Is that all the time it was needed?
No, not really. I mean, we needed more time, but sometimes the pieces fall together. We started talking about this around 12 days ago. You know, Bruno was part of the Gentilozzi and RSR family last year. They put that deal on hiatus. They kept the family together. I was all part of the family. I won a Trans Am championship with the Gentilozzi's and RSR. And about 8 days ago, it was final. We had a deal, and we came here. We didn't get the chance to test, but we did have a little time on Monday, a little time on Tuesday, and we were behind the 8 ball. You know, some guys have been here for 2 years already, and a lot of guys tested. But I don't know what happened, man. The morning before qualifying, something clicked. We threw a setup on it. I was comfortable, Bruno was comfortable, but P1, awesome.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
We're going to Kelly now.
Thanks.
In the P2 category, it was Oak Racing and Olivia Pla who qualified on pole, but Matthew LaHaye, this team has been hard at work all winter long. What does the pole effort say about their work?
Yeah, the staff worked very hard during all the winter, and they rebuilt a completely new car. We just have the same chassis, and all the other parts are brand new, and for the first race we are very competitive, so we hope to do a good championship this year.
It's going to be a tough one. Thank you.
Oak Racing doing a great job. Matthew LaHaye qualifying
from the overhead Porsche helicopter camera. And just look at how many people there are around. And they've come to see the whole 63-car field, including our pole sitters. In P1, Jeremy?
Yeah, Andre Lotterer, the winners at Le Mans last year. And that car, yeah, the Audis, they're definitely going to be the cars to beat. We know that going into the race.
Yes, and that's a new diesel with less fuel on board. In P2, great, fantastic job by Olivier Pla and the Oak Racing team. And they've got a lot of good cars behind them.
Yeah, and P2 almost 4 seconds quicker than last year.
In PC, well, we've just heard from the RSR team, and proof if proof were needed, that once a good team, always a good team. Back with a vengeance after some troubled years in GT. Look at the qualifying time in GT and GTE, Jeremy.
Yeah, never been below 2 minutes before a GT car. An amazing effort, and a whole bunch of cars that is so competitive.
In GTC, Sean Edwards nicked the pole away from the rest of the field for the Momo number 30 car, and that will be a car to chase all the way through. Well, the Porsche Panamera pace car brings them around. It is the pace car at the moment. I don't pay the fine. It becomes the safety car once we've started the race. There is the pole-sitting Audi. Never raced here before, but that is last year's car. That is last year's 2011 chassis. When we get the Spa for the WEC, that will be a 2012 car and very different. Are you ready for this, Jeremy?
Absolutely. This is going to be absolutely tremendous. The weather is perfect.
And they've jumped early. The two Ingolstadt monsters are off into the distance. In fact, all three of them, as the Muscle Milk HPT is having a sniff around the back of fourth place. The two Rebellions going through there as well. But a great start from the leading Audis.
Yeah, the Audis, you know, they're the class of the field, no doubt about it. But the petrol engine cars, much closer this year.
And look at the number 12. This is the Neil Yarney driven Hop Suisse, I say, for my mother-in-law. Happy Mother's Day for everyone in Europe this weekend as well. And Neil Yarney already up a position. There's the Stracker Racing car looking racy as well at the moment. The three Audis, well, we have a problem for one of the main runners in the GT category, and that is the 45 Flying Lizard.
Didn't even make it to the
He got hit before the start, I think, Jeremy.
Oh, no.
Now, if I was a detective like my father, I would say that was a clue.
Yes, damage on the front on one. We didn't see the damage on the rear of the other car because the car was turned towards us, but you've got to assume that's the problem. There was also a problem for another GT car in a warm-up. Number 17 Falcon Tires car blew its engine, and we thought that was going to be no chance to make it start the race. We just heard, though, that they fired up that engine and they're making it out on track. Whether it made the start race, I'm not quite sure yet, but an amazing effort by that Falcon team to change an engine in an hour and a half.
Well, drama right at the start of the 60th anniversary running of Sebring. Let's go to Kelly Stavast.
Well, Patrick Long took that 45 Flying Lizard out for the morning warm-up. He was complaining throughout this session about the handling problems. I saw Jörg Bergmeister just before the start of the race and asked him if he thought they had it sorted out. He said, we're hoping it was just cold tires, but I guess I'll find out when I get on the track.
Yellow flags waving, white flags waving for the course vehicle, also slippery surface flags as well. There's oil down on the circuit or some kinds of fluids, and that was for the Lizard on the driver's right there going into the final corner.
Yeah, driver's left, I think it was, going into that final corner. I think we saw some various activity out there as they come down the Ullman Straight, but boy, what a disaster for two real contenders in the GT class.
Alan McNish then leads by 7/10 of a second in the number 2 Audi from his teammate Marcel Fester, the pole sittler. So in all of that kerfuffle, McNish has already got to the head of the field. In third place, Timo Bernhard in the number 3 with Klaus Graf, the leading ALMS car. Remember, WEC and ALMS combined here. There are 2 ALMS specific classes in the prototype challenge cars and the GTC cars. Then it's Neil Yarney for Rebellion. Johnny Kidd, what a start for the Ulsterman in the 21 Stracker Racing HPD. Now, let's take you back a couple of days to the always exciting night practice on Thursday. This is at the hairpin turn number 7. And as you can see there, the Momo car gets turned around, hit by the Rebellion, and then hit by the number 3 Audi, which then gets collected pretty comprehensively by its team car and almost gets the 3rd Audi as well. Quite remarkable. So the 3 and the 1 Audi with difficulties. There are visibility issues out the front 3/4 of those cars, but as you can see, the team has done a great job in turning them around, and the Whispering Ingolstadt Giants are back on the circuit and doing what they do best, which is lead and dominate. And you were right about the Lizard there. That is just a driver's left on turning.
Yeah, but and incredibly, that number 17 car, Wolf Hensler, is it in the race. They did get that car out onto the grid and into the race. That is an incredible effort by that Falcon Tires team.
Yeah, changed an engine in an hour. That is just outstanding. The Audi's pulling away by about a half to 3/4 of a second a lap. What we don't know, Jeremy, is when they'll stop. They've got a smaller fuel cell this year as part of pegging back the diesels. And remember, as I said, these are the Audi R18s that we saw racing in Europe last year. They've never raced at Sebring before, tested. The brand new e-tron Quattro will test for the first time in public here on Monday. And that car will make its race debut, of course, along with the Audi R18 Ultra, the updated version of these cars, at Spa.
Yeah, we're kind of used to seeing the Audis and or last year's the Peugeots pulling away from the petrol engine cars at maybe 2 or 3 seconds a lap. But if you look just to the left of the picture as they come through turn 10 there, can we just see the first of the petrol engine cars? Well, not quite, but trust me, it's just out of frame there. It's still pretty close, and there's not that much. We'll see it here, I think, as they come on to the... No, we won't, because we switched away. But the petrol engine cars are much closer, and that fuel consumption is going to be absolutely crucial.
Looking back from the 03 Corvette, any of the ALMS cars with conflicting numbers to the WEC got a 0. Now, that car is, I'm not a suspension engineer, but that has been hit by the 58, and that incident is under review.
We're going to do everything we can to get this thing fixed. We're going to make 70% of this race, so try to get these guys to hustle up, put it on a rollback, all right?
Yeah, and you need to score. You need to get to 70% of the distance in order to be eligible for points in this race. But you also need to take the green flag, don't you? You need to be
within the first hour.
Within the first hour. So that's crucial too.
That's a good point, because he hasn't taken the green flag
yet.
Now, where's their pit though? Will they cross the line in the pit lane?
Yeah, so that was Thomas Blam on the radio there. He's a strategist for the Flying Lizard Motorsports team, so he knows he's got the finger on the pulse of just about everything there is in the world of motor racing. So they won't make any mistakes, and they will get that car back out into the race.
Looking back from Jan Magnussen, 4th in GT at the moment, to his teammate Ollie Gavin. And oh, look at the Ferrari just nipping out there. That's Guy Cosmo having a little nibble around the back in the 01 ESM Motorsports car, as the GT battle is headed by Tony Vielander in the 51 EF Corsa car. In second place is in fact they've just changed around. No, they haven't. There's the 71 coming through in third. That's Olivier Beretta in the third place car. So it looks to me as though Wielander's cleared off from this battle. Second, third, fourth, fifth and sixth in GT, Jeremy. Very close together, and as we expect, but the lead Ferrari has broken away from this battle. So the Corvette's just getting a little embroiled there. That's a fabulous look back from the 03 car, as through comes the number 22 prototype. That's the car that at the moment is fighting its way through the battle.
Yeah, why?
Oh. So
BMW.
The BMW that is just in the back of the shot there. See the two BMWs, the white M3s, passing under yellow, will get a stop and go penalty. The number 155 car, Bill Oberlin in 8th position.
Presume that would be maybe the end into turn 17 on
Correct.
that first lap when the
kerfuffle had gone on.
Yeah, exactly. There were local yellows there. But there's that number 22 car, and I'm not sure why that's way back in the pack, because it certainly shouldn't have been. I don't think they weren't put back to the back of the grid or anything, so they must have had some sort of a delay, I think, on the first lap. But fighting their way through there is David Brabham.
Yeah, it's a JRM car.
It's amazing. Brabham, what a family, that history they have here at Sebring. Grandad, Sir Jack, he won clinched the first of his world championships here at Sebring. Jeffrey Brabham won twice here overall, and this weekend was inducted to the Hall of Fame. David's won here, Gary Brabham's won here, and Matthew Brabham, Jeff's son, won a USF 2000 race this weekend as well.
Well, we're talking about heritage here. 1959, Aston Martin bought the DBR1s here, and that is its closest relative nowadays. Just gone by the 155 BMW. Look how close they get to the wall on the left-hand side. A real rejuvenation of the Aston V8 Vantage in the almost the dying moments of qualifying yesterday. They hadn't had a great first few days at Sebring, but all of a sudden the pace came to that car, Jeremy, and now again run by the Works team, by Aston Martin Racing, and really flying the flag for this car that has rather been forgotten about in the last few years in GT.
Yeah, it has, hasn't it? It's done quite a lot of work on the car, and it's not run very much. It was only unveiled, less than a month ago. They had a brief shakedown test in the UK that was wet at Donington. and then they came over here. They ran a test at Road Atlanta a week or so ago, and that was the first time that Adrian Fernandez had sat in this sort of a car, so it was a big learning curve for Adrian Fernandez, but he was able to learn from Stefan Muka and Darren Turner, of course, to be driving at least similar cars in the GT1 World Championship. They finished second in that last year, so they're drawing from their experience. And Adrian, he really likes this car. It's a very different for him. He's never driven a GT-type car before. Most of his time, his career, obviously, in open-wheel cars and or prototypes. But he's loving his time in the Aston.
Darren Turner in that car at the moment, having just passed Bill Auberlen. We know Bill's got to come in for that stop-go. That is the battle in GT for 8th, 9th, and 8th and 9th and 10th, yes, in that category.
And the 02 Extreme Speed Motorsports Ferrari back there. The Extreme Speed cars, I think they qualified on the harder, the medium Pirelli tyre, whereas maybe some of the other contenders started on softer tyres. It's a lot hotter today than it was yesterday. Is that going to come into effect towards the end of this first stint? We will see.
That is 4th and 5th, the two Corvettes at the moment, as Ollie Gavin goes through. In fact, as I say that, he's gone up to 3rd. Where's Tony Vilander gone? He was being scored up there, so we've lost one of the Ferraris. Mello now jumps into the lead in the 59 luxury car with Beretta in 2nd. The Vilander car, Tony Vilander dropping down. That car, he's gone into the pits. Now, that wasn't the car that was involved in that incident. So the 51 car, which was leading GT and was pulling away at a phenomenal rate, has pitted. He's going straight to the garage. Look, he's got that head out the window. Well, this is disaster for the car that was driving away in this early few laps of the GT category.
It's been lightning fast all week, that car. It's been very much the pace setter by probably half a second, really, in most of the sessions. I mean, it's been lightning fast, but you've got to finish this race. We talked about it earlier on. You've got to be patient in terms of traffic and not making any mistakes in the pits, but you've got to have the car reliability as well. We kind of take the reliability for granted almost these days, because when you compare endurance racing or any kind of motor racing now to 5 or certainly 10 years ago, the cars these days much more reliable.
And there's another problem. Unbelievable. Another prancing horse has gone lame early on in this. This is the Waltrip car, and that is the 61 car. Now he's got fire again in that car. Rui Aguas, the Ferrari test driver, smashing lad. Now, did that just cut out at him? He's clearly
got it going again.
He's done the three-fingered salute, hasn't he? You know, the old Control Alt Delete. At that stage, you're pushing everything, and that is not a happy pony. The Modena magic is not there. We're hearing an alternator from the team, and that, excuse me, a little bit of miscommunications. Hindhoff not listening in. I'm too excited at the moment. The 51, which we've just seen, the AF Corsa car, has got an alternator problem. I tell you what, I wouldn't be surprised if it had a similar problem on the Aguas car, and Risi had that problem last year. Here's the 155 coming in. Everything's happening so quickly, and we're only 5 minutes into the race. This is unbelievable. This is a penalty for Auberlen. Shaking his head, he's not happy. Racing drivers never ever think it was their fault.
Yeah, particularly someone like Bill's experience. I mean, they don't come much more experienced to Bill Auberlen. So for him to make a mistake to pass somebody under yellow, it's unlikely. Let's say. I mean,
well, but it's fast and furious at that point.
And you don't expect a yellow flag going down to turn 17 on the first lap of the motor race either. So
correct.
And you're busy. Everything's going on around you, particularly on that first lap. You're trying to sort everything else. And like I say, going into the final corner on the first lap, the chance of being a yellow there. And not a full course yellow, minimal.
Full course caution is out. Our first one. We are barely quarter of an hour into the race, and it is for the 61 Rui Aguas Ferrari. Oh, well. And the lead, by the way, that the Audis had built up was over 5 seconds at the head of the field. That gets neutralised immediately.
Yeah, but only 5 seconds. Last year it would have been 15 probably, wouldn't it?
Well, okay. I do like your cup half full sort of attitude, Mr. Shaw.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I mean, to Klaus Graf, he's been charging along. You know, his best lap time for Klaus Graf, who's the best of the petrol engine cars in car number 6, was a 1:49.7 so far. That's just over a second and a bit slower than McNish.
Now, a car that we'd normally see fighting with those GTs we were showing you earlier, as Jaguar gets it going again, I think that's electrical, is the 17 Falcon car. Now, it has started the race, but in rather trying circumstances. There's an old saying in motor racing that nothing good happens in warm-up. Hugh Chamberlain. And there is the proof, if proof were needed, that the car was out there. But this morning in warm-up, well, it was a very, very different story for Brian Sellis, as he pulled the car over with what may have looked like a bit of a fire. He's had to pull the bottle, and if you look underneath the car to the right-hand side, you can see there's an oil fire going on there. And it was really, at that stage, almost looking game over for the Falcon team.
And it was a remarkable effort by the entire Team Falcon Tire crew. They had to do a motor swap after that engine failure, and it wasn't an easy one because the new engine did not have, it wasn't completely dressed, so they had to take parts off the old one to put on the new one. When I saw Brian Sellers behind the paddock before the start of the race, he said, I'd be amazed if we get it done in 3 hours. Well, guess what? They got it done in an hour and a half in time for the green flag. So kudos to the entire Team Falcon team.
And, of course, this yellow flag helps them, and sometimes they say fortune favours the brave. They started from pit lane, but they have taken the green flag. There is the proof. Just remarkable. And remember, this is a brand new car for all the leading Porsche runners this year. It has great similarities to last year's car, but as you can see, it's a bit more muscular around the rear end. So there are some discrete differences about how things are done, and for those guys to turn that round in less than 90 minutes is nothing short of brilliant.
Yeah, Derek Walker and the boys there at the Falcon Tires team, just an incredible effort put in by them, and super to see. They've struggled with that car this week. As you said, it's the new 2012 Porsche 911 RSR. It's wider, it's better all around. It rides the bumps really, really well, but they can't really get it to work on these Falcon tires yet. They haven't really switched on that car for these tires. They've been struggling this week, but at least they are now in the race. And yeah, as we said, we heard there, he did start from the pit lane. The number 22 car, I believe, that Brabham car, the JRM HPD, that also started for some reason from the pit lane.
Well, as you can see, the safety teams have now decided to intervene. I think that's very wise. Rory Agrash trying to get back around to the pit lane under his own steam was a bit stop-go. There is our leader, Alan McNish, behind the Corvette safety car, as it now is. We'll take this opportunity to take a breath after all of the action in the opening moments here at the 60th annual Mobil 1 12 Hours of Sebring.
Usually when a car maker turns one of its models into a race car, they have to add power. But when Chevrolet wanted to race the 638 horsepower Corvette ZR1 against Porsche, Ferrari, and BMW, we were asked to dial it back. Oh, about 168 horsepower. You know, just to be fair.
Duck. Duck. Goose.
Our technology builds some of the best tires in the world, because when it comes to performance, we don't just play around.
Cheater, we said no 360s.
Who's up for some leapfrog?
When it comes to fun family getaways, it's got to be Holiday Inn Club Vacations. Room to be yourself.
The American Le Mans Series, presented by Tequila Patron. The fusion of man, mind, and machine in the ultimate test, where the fight for first is around every corner and the sole focus of every driver. It's 100% adrenaline, because the battle for the win is everything. And there's only one place in North America to see the thrills of Le Mans. It's the American Le Mans Series, presented by Tequila Patron. Coming at you on ABC, ESPN2, and ESPN3.
Well, welcome back to the Mobil 1 12 Hours of Sebring, fueled by Fresh from Florida. John Hinoff and Jeremy Shaw just about getting our breath back after a very exciting opening 15 minutes. As you can see, the tempo's gone down a little bit. We're under our first full course caution, which gives us an opportunity to reflect on history. And Corvette is a rich part of what American ingenuity is all about, following a Corvette pace car there. That car has been around, well, not that one particularly, but its brothers and sisters have been around for 60 years and evolving as the country's history and culture has changed. Johnny O'Connell has checked in with Corvette earlier in the week to bring us some of that history.
We're here at Sebring celebrating the 60th anniversary of the 12-hour race. But we're also celebrating the 60th anniversary of Corvette. As a matter of fact, this year, Corvette was inducted into the Sebring Hall of Fame. Over the years, Corvette has stayed true to its mission as a true two-seat sports car with state-of-the-art technology, incredible performance, expressive design, fun to drive, and more affordable than expected. Over the next several races, we'll break down one generation at a time why Corvette has stood for cutting-edge advancements and innovations across the years, many of which can be tied back to their involvement in racing. Now, when we get to Long Beach, we're going to talk about this car, C1, the first generation of Corvette, and how it laid the foundation for everything that Corvette has become.
And Johnny O'Connell inducted into the Sebring Hall of Fame as well this weekend. That is on board with the 03 car, sitting at the moment in the top 5. Jan Magnussen behind the wheel. Jamie Mello leading. The cars are allowed to pit now. The pits are open for everybody. Now, we'll cycle through a few of the other onboards that you'll get a chance to see. Sasha Masson in the Paul Miller Racing Chopard Porsche. And that is the number 34 of Damien Faulkner. Made a big impression here last year. What a great way to celebrate St. Patrick's Day for the Irishman. Back in the American Le Mans Series for 2012. Anthony Lazzaro in the 02 Extreme Speed Ferrari. Looking very relaxed behind the steering wheel.
Good to see Anthony with a ride here.
Good point.
Talented driver.
Is that a full season, right?
No, he's just filling in for the long distance races.
Klaus Graf, the distinctive helmet colours just up onto the top right of your picture there, as we're looking forward from the 4th position P1 car. And he's about to get promoted because Alan McNish, the race leader, takes the opportunity under full course caution to come into the pit lane. No thought of the Scotsman getting out. And it's diesel fuel and tyres. Now that is very interesting, Jeremy. Obviously these tyres have had qualifying on them, but only 15 minutes of racing, if that. I wonder if they're swapping compounds at this early stage. It's a few degrees warmer than it was yesterday, expecting it to peak around about the mid-80s Fahrenheit.
Yeah, 86 or so they're expecting today Fahrenheit. Can't do it in centigrade, I'm afraid. Sorry about that, I've been over in the States too long. But yeah, it is, and yesterday there was quite a lot of cloud cover. There has been for much of the week, on and off. There's one of the Ferraris maybe making its way out. But today, just blue sky, so no cloud cover at all. Track temperature is going to be up, and so is ambient temperature. So it's going to be tough for these guys that started on the softer tyres, perhaps.
Now, in comes... Now, speeding on stop and go. You see, I am a bit shocked, Jeremy, that all these lead cars.
Many of the teams are kind of splitting their strategy. I'm surprised the GT car's coming in, perhaps.
Look how tight that is, Jeremy. Look how tight that is.
The reverse in there, the core car.
Yeah, both BMWs came in. Simple reason, they're not running at the front of the pack. The theory was go ahead now, kind of get in an off strategy, change things up a little bit. Corvette, on the other hand, they're about a quarter of the way through their stint. They were telling Jan Magnussen just a moment ago, stay out, we're staying on program. But for the BMWs, well, obviously they've already had a stop-and-go penalty for at least the one car, the 155 car, so they figured might as well change things up and see where things go.
Rick de Bruyne, part of our expanded pit talent for this very, very busy and extended pit lane, of course, as Johnny O'Connell was telling us earlier on. Just to let you know, in GT, Jamie Mello stayed out and late in the 59 AF Corsa car and 59 luxury racing car, excuse me. And in second place, Olivier Beretta in the 71 Ferrari. So that puts Jan Magnussen and Ollie Gavin up into third and fourth in the 0, 3 and the 4 respectively. Guy Cosmo in third place, if you like, in the ALMS class behind those two Chevy Corvettes with the 0-1.
That's right, then Guy Cosmo, he's been drafted, he generally drives the 0-2 car with Ed Brown, but for this long distance race he's shifted over to share the 0-1 with Scott Sharp and Johannes van Overbeek. And Guy, he's quick, he's always a fast driver, but he's been sick for much of this week, so finally yesterday began to feel a little bit better.
Now this is a smart move as well. Remember, the 17 car started behind the 8 ball, if you like, after the engine change, but certainly from the pit lane. And Wolf Hensler's come in off strategy and dived in, refilled. You can see that he just didn't have the temps up on the back of the faulted tyres Porsche there, but he'll catch back up to the end of the Crocodile, and that gives him the option then to run longer into the race. And even at this stage, Jeremy, even at this stage, and we say this every single endurance race, the talent on the wall, which is just as talented as the talent behind the wheel in a different way, the talent on the wall are planning, they're scheming, and they're already trying to get any advantage that they possibly can by pitting or not pitting. Back on board with Klaus Graf. And we'll head out to the 95 car, there we are. And that is the level 5 with Luis Diaz. Had a quick word with him in the pit lane before the start of the race. Just great to have him back. He's just a fantastic character to have around, isn't he?
Enthusiastic, absolutely.
If you look up enthusiastic in the dictionary, there is a picture of Luis Diaz.
Smiley face of Luis Diaz.
Now, it hasn't been plain sailing for level 5 because Christophe Bouchou had I'm going to say a bit of a problem yesterday. When you see this, you be the judge of just how much of a problem it was. It's caused a very, very long night for the level 5 mechanics. Now look to the right of the screen there, and I think that Christophe Bouchou looked to the right of the screen there. That was hard hit. Just clipped the inside wall there.
Yeah, and that threw the car to the right, and you know, he's not the most communicative of people, Christophe Bouchou, and not the most liked person either, to be fair, or to be honest. Yeah, I think, you know, the car coming out of the pits there, he'd seen it well beforehand, but I think he suddenly realised, you know, that car was tracking out. He was going to make contact with it on the exit of the corner if he wasn't careful.
And as big as that impact was, when I talked to the team today, and Christophe Bouchou himself, he said, you know, the damage wasn't as big as you would expect. It was mostly body work. And at first they were concerned that they wouldn't have all the necessary pieces, and they were perhaps going to draw from the 95 car, their sister car, to get it put back together. But they said they had all the pieces. They got back out there. Scott Tucker is behind the wheel. He's going to do his minimum required driving time, which is more than 3 hours here at the start of the race. He'll take a 2-hour break and then get behind the wheel of the 95 for another 3 hours plus. So big day for Scott Tucker, but they're happy to be out there at all in that 055 car.
Now, perfect example as we look forward from Scott Tucker's car on the 95. Just here, on the top of the left louver, there seems to be a gap there, Jeremy, and it almost looks like there's something missing.
Yeah, well, there is something missing compared to last year, certainly, and you know, that's one of the things. We've had some problems with the prototypes when they get sideways. They've been flipping in recent years, and the FAA and the ACO and the designers have been working on trying to find ways of preventing the cars from flipping. And one of the things they're trying to do is relieve the pressure that builds underneath the wheel arches.
Yeah, it's about bleeding out that pressure build-up. It doesn't look very pretty. Apparently, it's very, very effective. Okay, so we've brought you up to date with what's happening. Marcel Fessler leads his Audi teammates, Timo Bernhard, the number 1 and the number 3, with Klaus Graf not that far behind in the queue, and Johnny Kane now up to 4th for Stracker Racing. Get back on the edges of your seats again. Don't sit back, because the Corvette safety car is going to go into the pit lane, and we'll get green flag racing here again at Sebring. Across the line then for Fessler. It's a pretty clean start for all of the prototypes. Andrea Bellicchi in 5th position, and then Emmanuel Collard in 6th. Now everybody has now, of course, got a single file restart, Jeremy, so it's slightly less frenetic, and as I say that, slight mistake by Johnny Kane.
Yeah, big lock up there going to turn 3, and yeah, shouldn't the tyres are pretty resilient these days, so it shouldn't cause him too much of a problem. That's the Stracker Racing HPD. The team stepping up to P1 this season, and Johnny Kane taking full advantage of it and running beautifully in the early stages of this race. Super to see Johnny Kane with a competitive ride.
Yeah, we talk a lot about Danny Watts in that team, and Danny is a qualifying monster, certainly no doubt about it, but Johnny Kane puts in just as much work. And Nick Leventis, in fact, all 3 of those guys, saw them earlier in the week, they've been training through the winter, and they're all like bored. They are so hard. They really have been hammering the gym. Look at Andrea Bellicchi. New colour scheme for Rebellion this year. Think back 12 months, that would have been dark red and gold with a bit of silver on there as well. They've, along with a number of teams, had a bit of a rebranding exercise going on. Lotus, they seem to be taking over the world of motor racing. There's Lotus badges on everything, and you can see that Norfolk's finest badge with Colin Chapman's initials on it, of course, forming the top part of that Lotus roundup, is on that car and carrying a very iconic set of colours from a bygone era.
Yeah, and we're going to see more of the Lotus brand in the American Le Mans Series this season too, as from the next round at Long Beach in a few weeks' time. Alex Job Racing is going to be running one of the Lotus Evoras in GT, and that car was just delivered to the Alex Job Racing shop, which is only a few miles from here at Sebring, just the day before yesterday, so they're working flat on that car.
Oh my goodness me, what a disaster this week has been for this team. The 28 car already has lost its teammate that didn't start, I'm afraid, in the Gulf Racing Middle East car. So the 28 machine, that's at the Jean de Bihan Benz. There's some damage there, as you can see by the evidence of carbon fibre. That's not going to do it any good either, in all honesty.
Fabien Girard starting that car.
Fabien, one of the driving forces behind Gulf Racing Middle East, and it's a very evocative colour scheme. Squint just a little bit, it's almost a 956 in the distance, isn't it?
Yeah, well, you talked about the Lotus brand being everywhere, so is the Gulf livery these days as well. Everybody seems to be running those, but look at the traffic, and there's Alamet Nish working his way through. He took the restart in 31st place, so he's got a lot of work to do to get his way back toward the front of the field.
Do you think he was just getting bored out front on his own?
Well, really, he wasn't running enough in traffic, I guess, so he's going to give him a chance to do a lot of it right now.
And he's got the flash button right in front. He's right up behind the GRM car, which, as you said, started back down the field, David Branham. So he's up to 17th position, 18th position, excuse me.
It's going to be interesting how quickly he can get past David, because he's not that much faster. David hasn't yet turned a particularly quick lap in this race. His best was he's on a 1:52. Compare that to Klaus Graf and the other HPD for the Muscle Milk team. He's on a 49 already. So David not yet up to ultimate speed, I think, with that car, but again biding his time. And like I said earlier on, that car did start for some reason from the pit lane.
And the leading Ferrari of ESM has also had a wee spin. And that, I think, is at turn 10. 13 is it further around, my apologies.
Yep.
Now, did Guy Cosmo jump, or was he pushed? It's people aren't running into each other, save for before the race. But we did have that incident before the green flag, and hearing now from race control, 58 and 45, racing incident.
They weren't racing yet because they hadn't gone green.
No further accident. No further action, rather, on that incident.
Spent some time back in the paddock just a moment ago. Checked in with the number 61 machine from AF Corsa. The 61, they're diving into it, trying to figure out exactly what's causing their issues, but it is electrical. For their teammates in the number 51, that pro car, their day could potentially be over. They've had an alternator issue, which also affected the clutch. Once the alternator went, so did the power steering, so they're having huge electrical problems in the 51 car. But while I was back in the paddock, the number 2 from Audi Sport, they came in and made a pit stop. It was fuel and tires, so Audi Sport has now split up their pit stops. The 1 and the 3, they stayed out. The number 2 came in.
And the option to take carbon clutches for the 458 Italia were eschewed by AF Corsa, I was told this morning, which is an interesting choice. This is a race where you're going to make probably a dozen or 15 pit stops as a GT car, as Alan McNish continues his carving through the field. You said, how long will it be? Well, I think he's just gone by the 95 car, so he's up into the top dozen or thereabouts. Now, is David Brabham behind him now? Yes, he is. So he's just gone by Luis Diaz. His next target will be Guillaume Moreau. And there is David Brabham about to have a tussle with Luis Diaz. And isn't it great, Jeremy, to be seeing 12th and 13th, there's 2 P1 runners having a battle.
Yeah, really, certainly is. Look at this field here. Look at the jockeying positions. They come down into turn 1, just going past the Dyson Racing Lola Mazda. That's a brand new car. There is the number 95 car with Luis Diaz at the wheel. And that car currently is running in 5th place in P2.
Where's the Dyson car? That is out of... it's down in 12th.
12th overall. Again, they're just playing it cautious in the early stages. A long way to go. The best lap that Chris Dyson has turned in the early stage of 1 minute 53.7, which was actually last time around. But Klaus Graf, he just turned a 149.7 again last time. That was his quickest lap, and he's within a second or so of the leaders in terms of lap times at the moment.
Spoke with Guy Smith as Alan McNish makes short work of Moreau in the Oak Racing car. As commentator pauses, as it appeared that Guillaume was having a little nibble back again. Spoke with Guy Smith before the season started, and he was saying, because in the American Le Mans Series, as in the WEC, Sebring being a longer race attracts more points, it's really important not to get a DNF. So hitting that 70%, getting some points here is absolutely crucial. If you don't, even with a 10-race season, so 9 more races to go, effectively you're playing catch-up for the whole of the rest of the ALMS season.
Yeah, and as we saw last year with the Muscle Meat team, the number 6 car stopped, didn't get to 70% in this first race, and it was effectively out of the championship running right there and then.
It's been a really interesting first, half an hour or thereabouts, and there's been some attrition, and we're hearing of more problems in the pit lane, and Kelly Stavist can give us the details.
Well, early word from Scott Sharp from that 01 Tequila Patron Extreme Speed Ferrari is that they had contact with the GTC car. They believe it knocked an alternator belt off. Guy Cosmo reporting he's lost the alternator, so that car is now behind the wall back in the paddock for the team to get to work on it.
Alternator again on the 01 car. Goodness gracious me.
Was it? But that was the Risi problem last year, was it not?
Yeah, I think it was, wasn't it?
So, Alan McNish now is up to Frank Mayer in the Nissan, the Signatech car. Jordan Tresson is the Nissan GT Academy graduate who is in that car in the World Championship. And remember, his predecessor and the winner of the first of those GT Academies, 3 years ago now, Lucas Ordonez, a very affable Spaniard, 3rd at Le Mans on his Le Mans debut in P2 last year. Way to go and find some new talent. McNish felt the need to wipe the windscreen, and Audi do have a washer facility on their windscreen wiper. It's been specially designed, has a special fluid to it, and when you've got a car that can do 220 miles an hour, you can't just leave that chance. Not like you can pop down to your local motorist discount store and pick up a windscreen wiper set for it. And McNish was given that a good old scrub as he came over the start-finish line last time around. His teammate Marcel Fessler leads by about 1.9 seconds.
One thing that Audi has taken careful preparation for is the fluid that is in the windshield cleaner. It's specially designed to get off the oil and the grit that is predominantly in the air here at Sebring as attrition takes place. But the other thing that they've done is they've been able to put 7 tear-offs on each of the Audi windshields. That's 2 more than they were able to do at Le Mans last year. So that means that for 7 pit stops, when they come in over the course of the 12 hours, they can peel off a tear-off and have a completely clean screen. So they've done some extra development in that area as well.
And that is looking forward from Alan McNish's car. Now, I'll tell you that is a significantly better view than Alan gets sitting about, 18 inches or so further back from where that camera is mounted. Although there's a big curve of a screen there, it's almost like looking through a letterbox because he's so further back. He's just gone and passed Elton Julian, second in P2, by the way, that 41 car that he's just gone by. So McNish now, Olivier Pla, indeed, the P2 leader there. So McNish now up into 7th, and is the 7th of the P1 cars. So the top 7 are LMP1 contenders.
Yeah, so those are the first, right behind Alan McNish here, those are the first 2 cars in P2. That would be Olivier Pla and Elton Julian. Elton Julian, of course, making the switch this year along with Christian Zugel into the World Endurance Championship. They were contenders last year in the ALMS LMPC category and also did some European sports car races as well, but this year their concentration is going to be on the WEC.
The Audi number 2 is I'm looking at that car, getting some conflicting reports that it might be Dindo Capello, and Alan started the race and he didn't get out. And in fact, I'm hearing now from Kelly in the pit lane that Dindo's having a snack, so it's definitely Alan McNish at the wheel. Now here's the leader, Marcel Fessler, and he is right in among the, well, he's now getting into not just the midfield runners, but the sharp end of the GT field, Jeremy, and this is where he has to be ultra careful in that Audi ultra lightweight R18.
Yeah, that was one of the Labra Corvettes he passed, and it's going to be a BMW ahead of him. That's what the car has. Not made a pit stop, has it? The 56 car did come onto pit lane as well. So that's running in 6th place in GT as Fessler makes his way through. Lead over second place, 2.8 seconds, 7.5 seconds back to Klaus Graf in the leading ALMS car.
Well, this is not a replay, dear viewer, because the 61 car had rejoined with Rui Agues on board, and it has ground to a halt again. In the meantime, Andrea Bellicchi is in the pit lane as well in the 13 Rebellion.
And it managed about 15 minutes off from the green flag to when it conked out the first time, and looks about 15 minutes again now to conking out again.
That would be Dindo Capello, not in the Audi then. Good to have Ronaldo Capello back with us. Just loading up on a few carbs, I would assume, before he gets his turn.
4-time winner here, of course, on the Sebring 12 hours. Tom Christensen, his teammate, he's won 5 times, and more than anybody else here at the 12 hours. And Alan McNish won 3 times, so not a bad record, really, that trio, is it?
And don't forget, Christensen came within a hair's breadth of winning 3 in a row and blew the pit lane speed limit, which cost him it. Let's go back to 2nd and 3rd. Former teammates Ollie Gavin in the 4 Corvette and Olivier Beretta in the 71. That's a change of position. So Gavin has gone through into 2nd place in the GT category, with Beretta hanging on to the back of Yardley Hastings' finest GT driver. And just in the background there, Jan Magnussen is in 4th position, the 2nd of the Velocity
race
Yellow.
Leader, I think, race leader coming through.
Well, realize that this is a new Corvette. It is not last year's Corvette. It's not a true revolutionary car. Let's call it an evolutionary car. It's got really new front suspension, similar rear suspension, but it's an inch wider on either side. And the drivers so far have said they like what that's doing for the car. So while it may look like last year's car, it is not the same. Wider and, significantly important, the rear wing is higher, giving it more downforce on the back end.
Now, I mentioned just a moment ago that Andrea Balicki had brought the Rebellion Racing number 13 car into the pit lane. They're looking around the front suspension area of that. That is very odd. Maybe a steering rack problem?
Yeah, not good at this stage in the game for certain to have that front cover off. In the meantime, Timo Bernhard.
You know what worries me about that, Jeremy? Sorry to interrupt you. Is there's no anxiety or purpose there. They are not moving quickly. They are still in acquisition mode.
What's going on?
Yes,
mode.
Absolutely. They haven't decided what it is and what they need to do to fix it. And that tends to suggest. Ah, no, that was a bit of a thumbs up and hit the top of the car with your fist. That always pit lane work by the Fonz there. It's fantastically good. Bart Hayden and the rest of the guys had a really difficult season for Rebellion last year. Really couldn't buy themselves any luck. And they've got the rear cover off as well.
They did win the Le Mans Series last year.
Yep, at the final race. There's Andrea sitting in the car, fairly impassively. Nothing he can do at this point.
You'll be sharing that car, of course, with Harold Premat and Jeroen Blekemolen, and the other car, Nicola Prost, Neil Jarni, and Nick Heidfeld joining that operation for this season. That's an interesting switch for Nick Heidfeld.
Just checked in with Bart Hayden, and he said that at the moment they know that they have lost the pressure that activates the gearbox selection, but their problem is they don't know why it's happened. So that's why you don't see a whole lot of activity right now. They are looking at the data, but they are in no hurry at the moment.
Yeah, and gone are the days when a driver touches something in the car and that has a direct connection to what he's actually controlling. Probably only the steering wheel, as we're watching Olivier Beretta having a little look down the inside on Ollie Gavin. Long-time teammates, this big bump coming up. Can Beretta hold on to it? He can! And that's a brave and decisive manoeuvre through turn 17 to go back into second place for the Ferrari of Olivier Beretta.
That's the third place overall car. Klaus Graf looming in their mirrors as well. But these two will be having a great time out there. Beretta and Gavin, wheel to wheel. Yeah, they've done it before in the same team, but not in different teams for an awful long time.
Meantime, up the road, better part of 9 seconds, is the 59 Luxury Racing car with Jamie Mello and Klaus Graf, as you say, fighting his way through. This is, can't say enough about the Muscle Milk car, because the guys, did the test. And there is the 59 leader of the GT category. The guys did the test in the Muscle Milk car, but all of the HPD runners have had precious little running in that car. They've been running third overall, and by far the best of the American Le Mans Series runners, by a country mile, in fact. And in fact, I'm just looking through, and I think that's the only ALMS car in the top 10 at the moment.
It is, yeah. Chris Dyson's running in 13th place at the moment in the second of the ALMS P1 cars. That's in 9th place overall in P1 right now. But again, Dyson, that team's, they've won this race before way back, and they want to do it again, and they know the only way to do that is to be running at the finish. So they'd be content to run a conservative place, particularly through the first couple of stints with Chris Dyson at the wheel.
So dare I say this, we seem to have settled down nicely, and all the guys are behaving and playing well together as Klaus Graf goes past the GT leader. Timo Bernhard leads the motor race from his teammate Marcel Fessler. Klaus Graf in third position. More action from Sebring next.
Everything we ever thought up. Everything we fight for. Everything we dream of. everything we are. The new 911. Porsche identity.
To get 40 miles per gallon, most car makers compromise performance. But we're Mazda, and we don't compromise. The Mazda 3 with Skyactiv technology gets 40 miles per gallon highway without economy buttons or compromising how it drives. We build Mazdas. What do you drive? Now get the Mazda 3 with 0.9% APR for a limited term.
Be the first to wear the latest trends of the American Le Mans Series presented by Tequila Patron. The official photo or poster t-shirts are available in 5 different colors. Or you can purchase Roger Warwick's t-shirt featuring the past 59 Sebring winners. Also, don't forget to grab the 60th annual Sebring event poster and stop by the paddock to get all your favorite driver signatures. The ALMS merchandising booth will be selling all of your favorite limited edition Sebring items throughout the day. And for those of you at home, be sure to check out ALMS.com to purchase your piece of Sebring history.
Back here at Sebring, and the first of the more scheduled pit stops for the leading runners sees the former leader in the pit lane. And out there go both of the Audis that stayed out, the 1 and the 3, have just called in along pit lane. And as I say, the first of these scheduled stops go, already mistakes there. The 28 car we saw in problems earlier on, the Gulf Racing Middle East, has been pinged for pit lane speed limiting,
And this is certainly earlier. I'm surprised they're in this early. 22 laps.
I think that's conservative.
Yeah, it is, but particularly with that caution period we already had, so they should have got a couple more laps out of that. And the new leader now is kind of a 6th, Klaus Graf.
Yeah, 16's been in as well. We're just on board with the fabulous nose-mounted camera. And I know I'm sort of wishing part of the race away, but wait till that gets dark, because the wide angle of that lens with the protuberances of the new front fenders on that Lola, you can just see there at the edges of the shot where the bulbous headlights come out, and that in the nighttime shot is fabulous. That's our new leader then, Klaus Graf. Get down to Muscle Milk and take a picture of the scoring serial at the moment. Brand new car, right out of the box. HPD knocked it out of the park again, Jeremy.
Yeah, tremendous effort. We're going to be interested to see now how long this car stays out before making its first pit stop, because the Audis, we talked about it earlier on, they're running a slightly smaller fuel cell this year, so they're going to have to come in a bit more frequently. And if we get some long green running, then particularly if we get some long green running, that could play into the hands of the other LMP1 cars, the petrol engine cars, of which this one, right now at least, is the leading contender.
Alan McNish has closed up into 3rd position and is pretty close to the back of Johnny Kane at the moment. Remember, McNish pitted on that full course caution at 15 minutes or thereabouts into the race. And that is what McNish can see looking forward, and that would be Johnny Kane going from 2nd to 3rd as McNish cruises by in an ever so unflustered way, going down into the hairpin at turn number 7, which had been a problem for the Audis earlier in the week, as you were seeing if you saw the early parts of the race with us. And again, I'm going to make the point, that camera sitting way further forward in the cockpit than Alan McNish is, and we, particularly off to the right, have a way better view than the Scotsman, who has to look over the top of those wheel covers.
Changing the alternator belt we're hearing on that 01 Extreme Speed Motorsports car. We heard an alternator problem, apparently according to Scott Sharp, who's just tweeted that they are changing the alternator belt on that car. But still behind the wall, I think.
Now you can see, if you look very carefully, just how far back McNish is in that car. And more problems in the pit lane as car number 8 has asked to go behind the wall.
Car number 8.
Yeah, that's Marcel.
Marcelli.
Yeah.
He was running second place in LMP Challenge.
This is the Lotus powered Lola. It's a John Judd designed engine, John's Judd designed engine, and a Lola chassis branded up by Lola team. And that looks very, very scheduled. So they've come in after 24 laps, as in comes Klaus Graf. And so there, you wanted the answer to the question, Jeremy. The Muscle Milk guys are now in the pit lane. Stracker is in the pit lane as well. And there is the Muscle Milk car. Klaus Graf shows no intention of getting out of that car, and a new set of Michelins being readied for it. We will work on the left-hand side. And that's 3 laps for the Audi, further than the Audi.
Yep.
Ooh,
25 laps he competed, 22 for the Audis.
I think that we might have had tyres waved off there. Yes, we have. Michelins were brought out for Klaus, not put on that car. That was tyres only.
Yeah, fascinating that for me. We're going to see now where Klaus Graf will come out onto the racetrack relative to the 2 Audis that were in 3 laps ago. Alan McNish will take the lead of the race. He's running already on a slightly different strategy. Let's see if we can see where the other Audis are. No sign of them there as Klaus Graf brings the car back out onto the racetrack.
Nissan Delta Wing driver Marino Frankitti's in the booth watching the start of the race with us, and he's just pointed out over our shoulder something that I hadn't actually thought about. We pointed out, remember, those gaps in the top of the wheel arches earlier on in the race, Jeremy. That allows you to inspect the tyres without having to crawl around underneath, of course, and take tyre temps a lot easier. This is the 51 AF Corsa car coming back out of the pit lane with Tony Vielander. Early leader is flame burned bright, but sadly not very long.
No, 20 laps that car has not lost being in behind the wall in the garage, but they have at least got that car back out onto the racetrack, so obviously it wasn't anything terribly serious or in relative terms, but that's a costly mistake. You're going to be, I'd be pretty surprised if you can make up 20 laps in a race here at Sebring and come back and win the class. But certainly that has been the pace all week long. Now it's going to be in fight back mode.
1:48.9 by the new leader Alan McNish on lap number 25. He did that particular lap, 26, excuse me, just clicked over. And McNish then, having taken advantage of that full course caution early on, he's worked his way back to the field. And the difference between himself and his teammate, number 3, Timo Bernhard, now 38.7 seconds for McNish. Now that's interesting because he had full service under that caution. So basically, he saved that amount of time. Brilliant.
Well, no, he's still going to make a full pit, so he made that stop under caution.
Yeah, exactly. So that's 40 seconds he's made up by not doing it under racing conditions, and he's still got at least another 15-20 minutes to run in that car. So early advantage to McNish. Oh dear. Now that's the 13 car. Did it actually go back out again? And has it come back in, or is it still being... Well, that's still gearbox related, isn't it? We heard Jamie Howe telling us earlier on that the gearbox actuator was the problem. The point I was making is that there's very few things that the driver touches nowadays that are actually connected to the bit that they operate. Andrea Bellicchi keeping his hand off the steering wheel for the time being, pulls the paddle, sends an electrical impulse, and either hydraulically or sometimes pneumatically or electrically, a little motor, then moves the gear selector. One of the days when there was a small metal gear shifter on the right hand side for the driver. Throttles have gone to fly-by-wire. Surely can't be long before steering does as well. Now here is the Flying Lizard number 45, just getting topped off with fuel and heading back out again after their troubles earlier on. And that car looks fairly pristine again. Remember,
That's impressive too, isn't it?
Yeah. So what have they lost, Jeremy? Something like half an hour?
No, it's
no, a little bit more than that. Almost an hour. Yeah, so they got out.
Yeah.
So that was, remember, completely broken rear suspension where they had the contact with the Ferrari before the green flag. And Thomas Bram and the rest of the Flying Lizard Motorsport team, real fan favourite, always have been, interact with the fans, make their team radios available on their lizardms.com website. It's good to see them back out, and remember, they're looking for points for the championship.
Word from the team here at the 45 Flying Lizard Porsche is that they had a broken rear suspension, had to replace the rear axle along with some body work. They said it actually wasn't that long of a fix. The longest part was just getting the car back to the paddock so they could begin the work. But as we just saw, that 45 Flying Lizard is now back on the track.
Well, you saw how little fuel they had to put in. That tells you how little running it had done. It was literally on and off and sent back out again. And they will begin, I'm sure, a steady climb through the timing and scoring monitors. Alan McNish leads on lap number 28 from Timo Bernhard and Marcel Fessler. 3, 2, 3 and 1, and just about an hour ago, that's how the 45
looked. We're going to make 70% of this race, so try to get these guys to hustle up, put it on a rollback, all right?
And now?
That's what they've done, look at that. That's
even the rear panel, which had a crease on it. That is phenomenal work. Running in tandem with its teammate there with the blue flashes on it.
Yeah, the 44 car, the 044 it's running this weekend. They've been struggling a little bit this weekend. This week with the handling of that car, they're trying a slightly different differential in it, and it's not really working out in their favour. So they've been slightly off the pace relative to its teammate and the other leaders in GT. As you can see there, I think it's Seth Nyman, the car owner at the wheel of the 044 car at the moment. Yes, it is, and he lets the 45 car go through quite neatly into turn 1.
He's got a bit of damage on that right-hand side of the field. Good to see Seth back for another season, a real stalwart of American Le Mans Series racing. So the 3 Audis lead from Neil Yarney now in the number 12. Rebellion has taken over 4th place, got ahead of the HPDs of Klaus Graf for Muscle Milk and Johnny Kane for Straka. Guillaume Moreau in the 15 Oak Racing car is in 7th place. Emmanuel Collard in the 60 in, that's the Pescarolo car in 16th, sorry, the 60 car in 8th position. Quick look at the GT standings. Jamie Mello leads in the 59. That's the luxury racing car from Ollie Beretta and Ollie Gavin, Ferrari and Corvette. And I'm looking down for the first of the Porsches in there because they have had some problems, and not just the one team that's had problems as far as Porsche are concerned at the early part of the 60th running of Sebring.
Yeah, you know, the very first time I saw Porsche run was a 9/17/30, the Can-Am car that ran at Laguna Seca. Mark Donoghue running the Penske car. They blew the engine between heats. Amazing job they did transferring that engine over, but that was a beast of an engine to have to transfer. Well, in the intervening years, they have mastered the concept of endurance racing and having parts that can fix easily. Chunks of parts that can move out and move in. That's why when the car breaks, they're able to take it back, make a major change, big chunk of suspension as necessary, and get it back out on the track. They've come a long way since that 9/17/30 at Laguna Seca.
Yeah, that's a brilliant, brilliant point from Rick de Bruyne down there. And by the way, I'm not talking to him on getting him his coffee anymore. I'm very envious that he saw those cars running, period. Sadly, I never got to see them, and it is a big miss from my life. In to the pit lane comes Jan Magnussen from 4th place in class. And the Corvette then makes its first scheduled pit stop. Look at the front of this car as it comes towards you. Look how much wider the front wheel arches are. That's part of the changes, not by no means all of them, for this year. And it will be a driver change as Magnussen jumps out, clean of the windscreen.
Antonio Garcia getting into the car. They're working on the driver change right now. Think about this. When they come down, the driver is already disconnecting the belts, getting everything ready. So when they arrive in the pit box, all the driver in the car has to do is then get out. But once the driver gets in, there's all the connections that have to be made. Now they're going to go ahead and start making the changes. So far, no problems with the car. Everything's going as planned. As I said, this is a new car. They've been working on the under portion of it for some time, but they've been working on the outer body. They really only got the shell of this car 3 weeks ago. So it's still a very, very new car to this team.
And for those of you following along here on ESPN3, where you're slightly further afield than in the continental US, now that is the car with the red shade band. And if you want to be able to do what we do and follow along with all the cars, then I suggest the 60th annual Mobil 1 12 Hours of Sebring spotter guide. Andy Blackmore, happy birthday for yesterday. Andy has done his great job again on the ALMS.com website or at spotterguides.com. We use them in the booth. You can do them as well, and then you can spot the cars along with how we do as well. There's that bright red shade band on the top of the 03. Tells me that on the spotter guide. So McNish still leads in GT. Looks like we're starting to get some scheduled pit stops. Jamie Mello in the luxury racing car. Let's head back into the GTC category. This is the unique to ALMS category, remember. These are the GT Challenge Porsches, effectively Porsche Cup cars. Sean Edwards and Damien Faulkner are at the head of the field in respectively the 30 and 34 car. They're sitting inside the top 50. Edwards with not a huge cushion to work with. It's had a very, very, very good season so far. More stops for Corvette.
Tommy Milner getting in the car. Interesting to point out, this year in this car, the number 4 car, they've got a different lineup. And the lineup this year for this car is Oliver Gavin, Tommy Milner, and Richard Westbrook. And what is significant about that is that all 3 of those drivers are tall. They don't have to worry about seat inserts. They don't have to worry about adjusting things. All 3 of them are tall enough. They don't have to make any major changes in the cockpit environment to get the 3 of them in. Routine stop. This is when they plan to make it all along with both cars. They brought one car in early, the second car in a lap later. That way, they don't have to jam themselves into the pit stall.
Yeah, and they do have previous here at Sebring as well as at Mid-Ohio for not handling both cars in at the same time in the most pristine of manner.
Yes, that's right.
I still cringe every time I see that bit of tape.
Yeah, the one here, when one pulled out directly to the path of the other one. It wasn't one of their shining moments, but that was a nice clean pit stop there. And interesting though that the Corvettes are into the pits a little bit earlier than the other contenders in GT.
Well, yeah, we've got to watch for that 59 of Jamie Mello and the luxury racing Ferrari. He won't know this, but the team have seen a number of Ferraris have problems. There is the GTC 34 of Damien Faulkner, who has just a moment ago taken the lead in that category from Sean Edwards. I said there wasn't a lot of real estate between them. Well, it's swapped over just while we were in that pit stop with Corvette. And Faulkner, the Irishman, hang on a second, there's some kismet here. Faulkner, the Irishman, driving a green car on St. Paddy's Day. There's the second place car. Sean Edwards, already victorious in a 24-hour race this season, took the Mercedes SLS to victory in the Dunlop Dubai 24 hours in the early part of January, and he's having a real good go this year. I do think that, lads, both of these guys actually, Faulkner's been around for a while, but Sean Edwards as well.
Yeah, last couple of years they've been super strong in the Super Cup in Europe, and this year the NGT team, they made an initial foray into the GT Challenge last year. They've been running in the GT3 Cup Series for several years now, but now they're going to run the full season in GTC as well, and this is a good, I think, taste of what is to come for that team. Sean Edwards put that car on the pole, has led all through the early stages, and now it's Damon Faulkner who's taken over.
Yeah, we should mention as well the Black Swan team that this NGT number 30 Momo car is chasing down, because they've done a great job as well. The Green Hornet team, my apologies, and they have confirmed a full season in the American Le Mans Series, and Damien repaying that confidence at the moment by leading out. All running on the Yokohama tyre, of course. And known for their durability, particularly in the warm weather, Yokohama. Remember when they were in the GT category of the American Le Mans Series. Now, I just wonder if there's a bit of tactical running going on here, because Sean's pace hasn't really changed that much. It's not like he's lost time. Well, that last lap he was a little bit closer, a little bit slower rather. But Damien has certainly been very, very consistent, working his way up to the leader. These cars all identical. And indeed, we've seen the similar cars have their own race this weekend in the IMSA GT3 Cup, which continues to be so successful, having been introduced by IMSA, what, 4 or 5 years ago now.
In about 10 seconds behind this pair is the third place car. That would be Kevin Estre, who's driving for the JDX team, and on his teammate, or on his tail I should say, are the two Alex Job Racing teammates, the 022 with Lee Keen driving, and the 023, the WeatherTech car, with Dion von Molker at the wheel. That's a good three-car battle for third place in GTC.
Yeah, and Kevin Estre that you mentioned there, the young Frenchman, Rookie of the Year in the Super Cup by Porsche. That's the series that chases around the European Grand Prix schedule. Also won the French Matmut Porsche category, which is their version of Carrera Cup. That had a round at Le Mans last year, which I think, from memory, Kevin won. Certainly was a race winner in Super Cup last year, his rookie year. Well, Damien Faulkner for a moment had clear road ahead of him, unusually, until through goes the 025 of Dempsey Racing, and they've had some interesting news this week as well, Jeremy.
Sorry, I was making some notes here.
Dempsey Racing had some interesting news.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, they're going to be running a prototype car in P2 later on this season, so that's very exciting news. Patrick Dempsey himself hopes to be taking the wheel of that car, yeah, that's a very exciting addition of both car and team and driver.
Now, my apologies, because I misidentified the 25 and the 025, and in fact that is the 25 of ADR. Now that ADR, if you're from the UK or Europe, you will know ADR stands for Alan Docking Racing, who's an F3 team. So clearly that isn't Alan Docking's car, except it is. Been around for an age, the Antipodean, who has been such a big part of young drivers' lives in the UK and Europe for so many years, Jeremy. I mean, he's had some good drivers through his hands, and this is a very interesting move into endurance racing for ADR.
It is, and it's a great addition to the series. And Simon Dowson of Delta Engineering also involved in that project. Neighbours at Silverstone in the industrial complex there. So a very good addition to WEC.
71 Ferrari of AF Corsa has made a pit stop. They have done a driver change. Now Andrea Bertolini behind the wheel of the car, but unfortunately when Olivier Beretta came in, the number 13 of Rebellion still on pit lane, so it's at a bit of an awkward angle. Was not an issue though, got out clean, fuel and tires.
Right, excellent stuff. Now, work going on to a BMW there in the background, which was interesting. There is the so far ill-fated 61 car. 71, we've just watched the pit stop, goes down the pit lane. BMW goes back down behind it, and I think that was the BMW 155 of Bill Oberlin that we were looking at behind him in the pits. I had to go back up to third place. Remember, he had a stop-go.
21 car.
21 car with a penalty. Danny Watts now installed in that car, having taken over from Johnny Kane. Sorry, I was just watching the Corvette waving through traffic and holding my breath. And Piers Phillips, the affable Geordie, will not be happy that he had too many men over the wall. He's been pinged for that, and that will cost them. And they've been running very, very well indeed. Right up with Klaus Graf and ahead of the GRM car before that incident. So Bernard leads by 2.2 seconds now from Fessler, as McNish must have made a pit stop. And And he is back down into 3rd position. Klaus Graf in 4th. Neil Jarney in 5th. So Audi, HPD, Rebellion, Oak, HPD, that's the GRM car, Pescarolo, who we haven't talked about that much. The 16 is a Pescarolo entered car. It's last year's car. It's not the car built around the Aston Martin 001, AMR 001 tub. We won't see that till later in the season, so that means it's running a little heavier. And leading the LMP2 category, Elton Julian in the 41 Greaves Motorsport, Le Mans and championship winner in Europe last year. And he's in 9th position now, and just 2 seconds ahead of Olivier Pla in the pole sitting car.
Yeah, so that order has changed there. I think they've made a pit stop, so presumably on that round of pit stops, and then Luis Diaz is up into 3rd place in that class, and not far behind either.
And there is Elton Julian leading P2.
Greaves Motorsports had a lot of success in Europe last season, and
brand new chassis, that car, for this season.
Zytec chassis, Nissan V8 engine. And Elton Julian, a lot of experience. Actually, Elton Julian, I think he drove with Alan Docking, actually talking of Rich, in F3 10 years or more ago now.
Yes. And he has got in front of him the number 6 of Klaus Graf. Checking those positions, that means he must have just dropped off the lead lap. Yes, he has. 2 muscle milk cars in, not quite. It wasn't Klaus Graf that he had in front of him, it was the other muscle milk car. I was just about to say 2 muscle milk cars in this race, which is slightly confusing because they of course are running the PC team as well, and that is what Elton Julian is catching up. Now let's get to some GT battle. Want some door handle to door handle racing? Then 2 letters are all you need, G and T. Not standing for gin and tonic. The 56 of Dirk Muller is the leading GT runner for RLL BMW, and sitting in behind him should be Darren Turner. So where is the Aston Martin? Is he back down the road a little bit? Certainly there is the Aston Martin. Just see the Hackett sunscreen there. That's the 2nd place car coming through some lapped traffic. So those Ferraris not in the fight at the head of the GT battle at the moment. And what a renaissance for the Aston Martin Racing. Yeah, they would love to forget, I think, from last year, trying to develop a very radical P1 competitor. So Dirk Muller then with a bit of room ahead of him for a change, and Darren Turner must make some passes here if he's to get back on terms. He goes past the 31 Momo Porsche, and now ahead of him he has got the ESM Ferrari, and that is the 01 car, which we saw Guy Cosmo having problems earlier on. Now, can the Aston pull past it with the front-engined GT car, the V8? He's right in the hole that he's being made for him by the Ferrari. He pulls out. This is not a pass for position, and he can't do it. And that looks like the BMW's peeling into the pits here, Jeremy. That's the leader in GT, and we have an Aston Martin leading at Sebring. The Aston Martin will go across the line and be scored as the leader in the GT category. Darren Turner does just that in 27th position overall. Into the pits then comes Dirk Muller. And still, Darren hasn't been able to get through. He does now. Nice move on Guy Cosmo.
Yeah, we didn't see, I don't think, did we? Alan McNish was in the pits a few laps ago.
Now remember, BMW had a slightly later pit stop. All they did was they came in, because they weren't running the same pace as the leaders, they came in and they also made that early pit stop just putting on fuel. This is the first time that they're changing tires and making a full pit stop, although you can see they're taking the driver in the car. So not a problem. It's on schedule for what is an off-schedule set of pit stops.
Yeah, I think I follow you there. The Crown Plaza BMW back into the fight, having giving up the lead to that Aston Martin. And somewhere over by Banbury, there's a little cheer. Whilst we're talking about people from the UK, I know that Dave Scotney from Lola is tuned into our ESPN 3 broadcast, and all the guys at Huntingdon. Hope you're feeling better soon, Dave. About time we had another one of our chats. As the BMW is back out onto the racetrack. And that's how it looks coming down towards the hairpin. Now just have a quick look to the right here and see what you can see around the hairpin. Those tyres there, the white tyres with a little flag on them, have been causing one or two visibility issues throughout the weekend so far. We'll pick up that thought later on. Now that is a very, very fast GT car, Jeremy, and then a P1 or a P2 car goes past you as if you're chained to a post.
Yeah, but certainly the GT cars are closer to the prototypes than they were a few years ago, at least to the very front of the field. The petrol engine cars have sped up in relation to the diesel cars, and that's as a result of some of the adjustments that the FAA and the ACO, the Automobile Club de l'Ouest, that sanctions the Le Mans 24 Hours, have made to the cars. And here is, I think, our leader in LMP Challenge.
Yeah, this is the 05 Core Composite Resources machine.
And it's important to point out the guy that just got in that car right there is Eric Lux. Remember, he was the competing driver last year, co-tying with the championship with John Bennett. This year what they've decided to do is bring him into this car for this race. So that way they have the best of both worlds when they can move forward. We know he knows how to drive these cars. He went to the championship last year. Now he's joining Bennett. And Colin Braun as well, the third driver, back from NASCAR. Remember, sports car background, driven a lot. This is going to be a real solid team.
And as the 05 leads, more pit lane wars for BMW. And it will be another stop-go, this time for the 56 car. And that was speeding on pit lane. We'll wait for him to come back around, and I will welcome to the ESPN 3 booth. Here he is, Marino Franchitti. Marino, whilst we're just watching this stop-go, your impressions of the first hour and a half or so of the 60th running of the Mobil 1 12 Hours of Sebring from a Nissan Delta Wing driver's point of view.
Yeah, I wish we had the Delta Wing out there. I don't think we're quite ready for a race yet, but obviously it's hard to sit here and watch everyone else having fun out on track. But definitely looking forward to all the development we have coming up in the next couple of weeks, and obviously a lot of work between now and racing the car in Le Mans. But we've had a really encouraging start to the program. But the race here definitely very exciting. I think there's a good show going on for the fans right now. You kind of get that feeling that everyone's just settling in, see where everyone's fuel economy is, how many laps people are getting, tire wear, and it'll be another couple of hours before we know how the race is going to play out. I would say long term.
The 56 car now down to 9th position in the GT category,
but not yet made it stop-go, so it'll drop out of that.
No, just did there. Yes, just as Marino started talking. Yeah, big absolutely. Up. So Timo Bernhard then leads the motor race by something like 7 seconds. We're expecting him to pit in a lap or two's time.
I know it's a long way to go, but the number 2 car taking that first yellow may be something that really plays out for them later on, because you always want to go back from the end of the race, work back from there, and it just looks like that's given them an advantage.
Well, you never want to second guess the guys on the Audi wall as far as strategy is concerned. They've got 3 bullets in the gun, so splitting the strategy is not the daftest thing in the world.
Yeah, quite. But interesting, isn't it? Yeah, McNish made his second pit stop about 6 laps or so ago now, and he's 14 seconds behind Timo Bernhard in the lead of the race. So, that gap's been pretty constant through through the last.
But if they can carry that fuel all the way through the race, it'll either get them out of the pits quicker at some point, or it'll mean they have to take less fuel at the end of the race.
Well, there is the Audi working its way through traffic. That's Timo Bernhard. And you're watching from the Porsche aerial camera. There are your leaders. Still plenty of action to come. 5.8 seconds, the gap at the head of the field, and we'll be back with more in just a few moments' time.
The first FIA World Championship race was held at Sebring in 1953. But it was the number 57 Cunningham C4R, built in Palm Beach, Florida, that won the second 12 Hours of Sebring. Phil Walters and John Fitch drove the car to the win. 1954 was the year of the first big Sebring upset, and was also Sterling Moss's first race in America. And the number 56 Oscar he and Bill Lloyd drove won after being spun out at what was then known as the Webster turn. His fight back to the front established Sebring's tradition of the overachieving underdog.
What do you drive? Is it inspiring? Was it built by a behemoth car maker? Or insightful craftsmen obsessing over the details, building better cars for a discerning few? Are you one of the few who care about what you drive and how it drives? We're with you because we believe if it's not worth driving, it's not worth building. We build Mazdas. What do you drive?
Hi, I'm Dennis Gage, and I gotta tell you about a smart charging system that keeps my entire fleet of machines on call at all times. It's called Battery Tender, and it's not just for my classic cars. Deltran battery tenders have a microprocessor that monitors everything. It never overcharges. It just takes batteries up to a full charge and keeps them there. So whether it's cars, motorcycles, mowers, or ATVs, Battery Tender keeps them all ready for action. If it's not a Deltran battery tender, it's just a pretender.
The wind can run, but it can't hide.
Presenting the official American Le Mans Series merchandise collection. Inspired by the world leader in green racing. Represent your favorite series with authentic event shirts, hats, jackets, and other gear. It's available at every race in Vendor Village and, of course, at ALMS.com.
Well, we've still got just over 10.5 hours to run here in the Mobil 1 Sebring 12 Hours. And it's John Hindhaugh and Jeremy Shaw for ESPN 3. Reno Franchitti from the Nissan Delta Wing project in the booth with us at the moment as well. Watching just fantastic racing, and as ever, the Sebring fabulous crowds. Long lap last time around for Marcel Fessler in the number 1 Audi. Some 2 minutes 34. Don't think he sneaked into the pits, Jeremy.
No, 2 minutes 0 for you. He only lost about just over 10 seconds, so we saw him going slowly out of turn 13.
Green X Challenge is another part of the American Le Mans Series here for 2012. It's all about being clean, fast and efficient. We use a logarithmic program to work out those numbers, and as you can see, it's the Muscle Milk number 6 car sitting in 4th position at the moment that leads the prototype. In Grand Touring, the GT category, it's front engine, rear wheel drive V8s, the 2 Corvettes from the BMW, but fractions of marks between them, and we'll keep you updated with that as we can go motor racing in a more clean, fast and efficient way with the Green X Challenge. There is your leader, Timo Bernhard.
Indeed, 43 laps will be completed as he comes across the line this time. I would expect that car to be in the pits again for its second scheduled stop within another lap or 2. So he did 22 laps on the first stint. That included, of course, the pace laps and everything else, but it also included a full course caution period as well.
Now, just a few moments ago, Jeremy, your eagle eye on the timing screen, absolutely spot on. This is what happened to Marcel Fesler, right in the middle of the screen. It's one of the luxury racing Ferraris. I think, oh my goodness me.
And what happened there, he kind of committed himself to go down the inside of the Ferrari, then thought better of it, got on the brakes, locked up the brakes, and spun around. Marino?
Yeah, I mean, he spun in avoidance there.
Yeah.
You know, he avoided some heavy contact with the Ferrari. It was one of those where the Ferrari had to work with him there to give him the line, and obviously maybe hadn't seen him or just wasn't willing to give up the inside. So these things happen in traffic, especially when you have 63 cars, and I think you're going to see more of that this year. As I said yesterday to the guys that were listening, the prototypes and the GTs are becoming much better under braking. They've got a huge braking performance and mid-corner speed now, and we don't have the straight line speed in prototypes to pass them as easily. So everything's been funneled down to the apex of a corner. That's where everything's happening. So I think you're going to see more contact this year than ever.
Yeah, I think kudos there to Marcel Fesler, because he was able to, crank the car to the inside. Yes, he lost it. Yes, he spun, but he didn't. I don't think he hit anything, and that is the important thing at this stage in the race, particularly.
Is that likely to damage the tyres in any way, shape, or form, or was he not locked up long enough there, Marino?
I think you're right. It didn't look like he was locked up too long. So I think Jeremy said earlier, these tyres are very resilient now. You don't get a little lock up and then you have bad flat spots. It takes a lot more to flat spot the tyres. Michelin do a fantastic job there with the durability, so I think he'll be okay. He looks like he's straight back onto pace, so he doesn't look like he's suffered any ill effects.
It is amazing, really, how you can do that sort of thing. You can lock up the tyres, you can spin, and it doesn't cause nearly so bad as flat spots that it used to in the past.
Sorry, that was me with the sharp intake of breath as he got, for me anyway, a bit too close to the left-hand side. Very, very close to the wall there in turn one. Of course, we saw Christophe Bouchou clip that in practice earlier on in the week. What we're seeing now is absolutely, what the driver says. Actually, it's better than what the driver says from out of that Audi, I think, Marino, isn't it?
It is. The Audi, they certainly struggle with their forward vision between the pillars of the car, and also the wheel arch has been so big with these huge front tyres. It's not a very pleasant place if you're trying to see what's around you. I've stuck my head in that car a couple of times and you can't really see very much at all.
Now, whilst we're watching one comeback drive from a few moments ago with Marcel Fesler, how about this for a story? Wolf Hensler, who started in pit lane after an engine change on the 17 Falcon Tyres car, has just made it back to the head of the GT field. Now, he's just gone into the pit lane, but that is pretty impressive that in, well, round about the time that it took the team to change the engine between warm-up and the race, the guy, Wolf Hensler, has repaid the guys by getting to the head of the field, Jeremy.
Yeah, slightly different strategies than the other guys. They did make a pit stop, I think, during an earlier caution period, but nevertheless, let's hand it to those guys in that number 17 team. They did get it to the very front of the field, leading in GT before Wolf Hensler made that pit stop. Great job, guys, and I think that's going to hand the lead back to number 59 car, the luxury racing Ferrari with Frederic Macavecchi at the wheel at the moment now.
Timo Bernhard in the 3 Audi is the leader by something around 7 seconds from Alan McNish. Well, that was a 54.4 last time around, and Alan McNish goes through in a 51.6. Do the maths yourself. There is the Scotsman. It's now down to 4.2 seconds. As into the pit lane comes that number 1 of Marcel Fesler. I don't see any damage on that car, guys. I think he's got away with that. That's pretty good driving. Looks like a full service for the number 1 car.
And Andre Lauderer getting behind the wheel of the car. This is Andre's first race here at Sebring. He knows the track well. He did post the pole position time from yesterday. He's done lots of testing here, but he's never been out on the racetrack under race conditions. What advantage he has? This is his team from Le Mans. This team works very well together, has the same crew chief, he has the same engineer, and the same co-driver. So this team working very well together at the moment. It's normal pit stop, fuel, tires, and Andre Lauderer is out.
Usual Audi efficiency, I'd say there.
Yeah, very tidy pit stop there, of course. And Andre Lauderer put this car on the pole. First time here at Sebring, as we heard Jamie say there. Put the car on the pole and now will resume the race. It'll be Timo Bernhard who still leads. But this is going to be an interesting stint now, I think, from Andre Lotterer.
What a beautiful looking car that is in terms of design at the front. It's almost got a double deck wing affair there as they're managing the air through and around the front of the car. And you've got to give Audi their due over the last 10 years or so. A bit more than that now, of course. The guys from Ingolstadt have changed the face of sports car racing entirely. Let's not forget the R8 was a car that had a lifespan of some 5 years, as in comes Timo, who had inherited the lead. And again, looks like full service and a driver change.
Romain Dumas getting behind the wheel of the number 3 Audi. What you notice is that Audi Sport has split their pit stops. That's crucial for a race like Sebring. There are over 60 entries. Pit lane is extremely tight, and these cars are not small. So having the crew have enough room to work is vital. Fuel is complete. New set of tires going on for Romain Dumas. Everything going to plan at the moment. New set of Michelins, and Romain will be out. There is a bit of delay. There seems to be a problem in the cockpit of the number 3 car, so they're being held on pit lane. This is going to hurt them. You cannot spend extra time in pit lane to win at Sebring.
I think he might have needed a hand with his belts there, maybe. Oh, there's a lot of electrical stuff on the passenger, what would have been the passenger side of that car, but that seemed to be a pretty late decision to send the guy into the cockpit area. Well, that's what's happening at the head of the field. What about the Grand Touring classes, the cars built around the everyday cars that you or I might buy, might drive? Fred Makiavicki, in another life we drive these cars. He's leading for luxury racing. Let's get you up to date with what's happened in the first hour and a half or so for the GT category, and actually all started before the green flag, with the 58 luxury racing car coming into contact with Flying Lizard number 45 as they went into the final corner before the green flag. Suspension damage on Jörg Bergmeister's car. That car came back eventually on a flatbed. It's back out though, and they'll be looking to claiming points. Great battle between former teammates, with Ollie Gavin and Olivier Beretta battling over what would become second place. After the early leader, the AF Corsa Ferrari, had some alternator problems. So used to seeing these guys either in the same car or in team cars. And Olivier Beretta, at least at this point, got the better of his erstwhile teammate, as Ollie Gavin had to give best going down into turn number 17. And Beretta went through into what then was second position on the track. Not plain sailing by any stretch of the imagination for the GT category. We saw the problem for the Audi earlier on. Same spot on the track. Guy Cosmo gets spun around, and that took him out of a top 5 position in the GT category. That's Fred Makiavicki leading for luxury racing. There's a guy whose driving has come on in leaps and bounds in the last 2 years.
Yeah, he's seriously quick nowadays, isn't he? He's right on the pace of anybody. He started out as a gentleman driver, but you certainly wouldn't classify him as that now. And he's driving everything pretty much, isn't he? Anything to do with GT racing, he's in it.
Yeah, I saw him at Zolder in a GT race, 2 or 3 years ago now, and he impressed me then. I think he had 2 races in 2 different categories that weekend, and he's more than holds his own with the full-time drivers.
Yeah. He won the French Carrera Cup, Porsche Carrera Cup a couple of years ago, and he's driven just about everything, as I say.
Look at the crowd here at Sebring, and relatively clear skies. It looks like weather will not be a factor in this 60th running of this classic race. Still see the airfield on the left-hand side, and remember Hendrick Field, former training base for the US Air Force, which is where the real estate came from in the first place. Alec Ullman put this idea together to have an endurance race here among the olive groves of South Florida, or South Central Florida at least.
Just a quick note here, we saw the Stracker car, Stracker Racing HPD have a stop-and-go penalty, did it, for too many people over the wall.
Yes.
And the reason for that is because Johnny Kane was having suffering from some pain in his leg and had to be helped out of the car. That's why the extra guy was over the wall there. So that was why that penalty had to be served.
Cost them. They were sitting pretty in the top 5 and now down to 13th, 13th position in the overall standings. 9th in class. There are a couple of P2s. In fact, a pretty decent battle now in P2. 9th, 10th, 11th and 12th. As Alan McNish is back to the lead with a 47.6 last time around. Marino, that's impressive.
Yeah, it's very impressive. I mean, looking at Alan's times, his averages so far have definitely been the best of anyone. He's regularly 1 to 2 seconds quicker than anyone, and he's just cutting through the traffic like a hot knife through butter. It's very impressive, as always with Alan. But you know, he started the year strong at the Grand Am race at Daytona, and he's obviously continuing that here. So I think that's probably helped him, having a race under his belt already coming into this. It means he's been used to working through traffic already.
As a driver, I mean, I had this conversation with Alan last night. Motor racing is a bit of an odd sport because other than doing your fitness training, you can't practice motor racing unless you're in the car racing.
No, absolutely not. But I also think you're either a good racer or you're not. There's guys that can be very fast, but they might not be very good racing drivers, let's say, working through traffic. And oh, we got Corvette off.
Yeah, that's the 03. That's Antonio Garcia off at the hairpin. He's got the dark visor on, can't see the whites of his eyes there, but that won't come up a little bit.
4th place in class.
I don't think he's lost that either, to be honest.
Teammate, the number 4 car, is in 2nd. Still Fred McAvecchi that leads for luxury racing in the Ferrari. And Tommy Milner is in 2nd place. And Andrea Bertolini in the AF Corsa Ferrari in 3rd place.
Antonio Garcia
by the seconds of Corvettes.
Down into the hairpin. Difficult to find your braking area there, Marino?
Generally not.
It is when you're on the grass.
It's difficult when a P2 car's put you on the grass. That generally doesn't help you stop. Or is that PC? Yeah, it's a piece. Yeah, it's a PC car. I don't know where he thought that GT car was going to disappear to, but yeah, that's just lack of experience there from the PC driver, I would say. Not showing the GT car any respect at all.
Yes, and if Antonio Garcia wasn't fired up enough, he will be now. And I would say Andrea Bertolini, who's ahead of him in that number 71 Ferrari, may have to start worrying about how quick he's going to close down. He lost a bit of time there, of course, but not too much. And main thing is he hasn't damaged the car. He kept it in a straight line, did the sensible thing, overrun the corner. Because the old circuit used to go straight on there.
Definitely seen a lot of guys here that obviously don't have a lot of experience in prototypes. They're coming alongside the GT cars, and the moment that they're clearing their eye line, they're just turning like they're not there. I mean, these guys have got to learn that the GTs are obviously, they have their own piece of the track as well, and everyone has to respect each other out there, or you're going to see more incidents like that.
Antonio Garcia has carved out a nice little career for himself in endurance racing as well. Come on board with Corvette, and for the longer races, now one of their go-to guys. Let's go down into the pit lane. Timo Bernhard out of what was then the leading Audi.
Timo Bernhard out of the car. We've seen some contact out there. What are track conditions like right now?
Well, the track right now is quite greasy and sandy because there's a lot of different lines. You have to go through traffic, so you don't have the actual racing line. You're taking lines just to overtake the cars. That's quite dangerous, so the track is very dirty and it's quite a war out there. That's why we have to be careful.
The temperatures are getting hotter as we get into the afternoon. How does that affect the car?
Well, so far we have a really good balance in the car if we're alone, half a lap for example. But I think now it's getting hotter and the speed might reduce a little bit. I think in the afternoon towards the evening it will be quicker, and then once just before the light drops, I think then it's going to be the quickest time of the day.
Audi's competitor Muscle Milk Racing on pit road, Kelly.
And Jamie, they're making a driver change. Klaus Graf is out. Lucas Lord now behind the wheel. This is the first time that they're changing the Michelin tires on this number 6 Muscle Milk HPD. first time they're getting fresh rubber from Lucas Luhr. It was a very smooth stop, and he's underway.
And we're hearing from race control that incident we watched between the 3-car earlier on and the
I think we mean
prototype
the
challenge, the 03
we mean
car,
the 03 here, don't we, this
Antonio
weekend?
Garcia. That looks like that is under review by the guys in race control.
And checking with the team, at first they were concerned that there had been some damage. In fact, they had everything up on pit wall ready to make a change to come in for that 3-car for the Corvette. But once they talked to him, they felt he hadn't hit anything, that was okay. But it's important to point out there's been a lot of discussions about what to do with the GT cars and the P1 cars in terms of the big speeds and those cars coming. In fact, when you listen on the radio, you can hear them say, not just there's a car behind you, oftentimes they'll say there's an Audi 2 or 3 cars back. They want to make sure that the GT cars know exactly what the close rate is on the car that's coming up behind them.
So that is the Corvettes that for the rest of the season will be the 3-car, 0-3 here. I know it's complicated and we're still getting our heads rounded as well. That's what it looks like from the roof. And listen to the thrum, the steady thrum of the V8.
It's cool. These are gorgeous cars. I love the new cars, the new GT cars with a wider wheelbases, wider tracks on these cars. They just look great. They're beautifully proportioned.
Yes, great.
Particularly on the Porsche, I think. It's not just wider wheel arches on the thing. The whole thing is really nicely balanced, it looks like, and the drivers love it. And they say over the bumps in particular, the car is so much better than in the past.
And you'll notice one other thing that's happened as a result of widening out the car. On the fenders on the right and the left side, they've also added the engine air inlet. It used to be in the back on the top. And the concern they had was they had hot air coming out the radiator going over the top of the car and into the engine. They feel that now that they've widened out those fenders, they get more cool air coming in on the side. So not only does it help in terms of the track and the traction, but they feel it gets more cool air into the engine.
Yeah, that's a good point, and you can see that clearly. Marino and I both fans of wide-bodied Porsches, and if you look at it, when we next get a chance to look at a Porsche, those air intakes are pretty much like the turbo versions of the street cars, very much form following function, but yet, as Jeremy says, they do look great. Remind me a little bit of the old Group 5 cars going back a few years that were real monsters.
Yeah,
those
like 935s, yes, and stuff like that, exactly. Yeah,
those of a certain age.
Brutal though. These are very sophisticated lines on these cars nowadays, but those 935s were fabulous to look at.
The leading American Le Mans Series runner throughout this race so far in the prototypes at the head of the field has been Muscle Milk. Klaus Graf is out of that car. Lucas Luhr is in. That means Klaus can talk to us down in the pit lane.
Klaus Graf led all the petro-powered cars out there for that entire first stint. How was the traffic? It seems like a few small incidents, but maybe it's settled down a little bit from the practices throughout the week.
Yeah, I was glad to see that. I think everybody used their heads at the moment. Track is in pretty good condition. The pickup gets a little bit more, but everybody was pretty cautious, so I was happy to see that. And the Muscle Milk car was running good, and so far so good.
We know you don't have the power of the diesel cars, but you double stinted those tires at the beginning. Where are you going to find your advantage that can give you an opportunity to win?
Well, I think we're a little bit better on consumption, fuel consumption, and we just want to stay with them at the moment, and we'll be there. We'll hopefully be there at the end, so as long as we can hang with them, we're in good shape. And by the way, happy birthday, Hunter.
All right, thanks a lot, guys.
Well, petrol cars won the Green X Challenge last year against the diesels, so there is an opportunity there. In 3 laps that they went longer. I have to admit to the fact that was Marino who told me that. I didn't carry that fact around in my head, but was that you guys that won that? On board with Muscle Milk. And Lucas Luhr back at Sebring as he heads down towards the hairpin. He's got 4 cars ahead of him, 3 Audis and the Rebellion, and the gap between McNish and his teammates is steadily growing. And that tactic of taking the pit stop early on at the moment playing out for the number 2 Audi of Alan McNish. In GT, Fred Makiewicz leads, and there are your other leaders. Back with more in a moment.
excitement of the American Le Mans Series is back.
Great flag and we're racing at Baltimore.
Where technology races into the future and no man is better than his machine. Failure is always a threat when pushing development to its very edge, but survival makes success that much sweeter. This is where technology, passion, and danger meet to create a spectacular orchestra. The American Le Mans Series, presented by Tequila Patron, where the technology of speed and danger is everything.
Welcome back to Mobil 1's 12 Hours of Sebring, fueled by Fresh from Florida. On board with the leading P2 Challenger at the moment. It's the 95 level 5 of Ryan Hunter, sitting rather cosily actually in 11th position in the overall standings. Only the 3 Audis on the lead lap at the moment. They have managed to gap the field. So our wonderings and musings about the performance balancing are beginning to play out just a little bit. Leading the petrol-powered charge in 4th position is Neil Yarney for Rebellion. Lucas Law in the Muscle Milk car is in 5th position and the best of the ALMS runners. Bertrand Baguette, Bertie Breadstick, is in the 15 car, the York Racing car in 6th position.
Yeah, which started at the back of the pack.
Yes, exactly.
So,
yeah, failed the stall test.
Charge up through very quickly.
It's good to see Baguette in, another young driver who has had major league international experience coming to sports car racing and enjoying it. Karan Chanduk is the other driver that we could put in that category. And they're both saying that they're having to learn brand new skills.
Yeah, very much so. Bertrand Baguette, he drove some limited IndyCar schedule with Rail Hall Letterman Lanigan Racing last year, so it's good to see him now. Hopefully that'll be a full-time ride for Bertrand Baguette.
Nice to have a bit of clear space ahead of you with all the cars that are out there. It doesn't happen so many times.
We've got the RSR in PC prototype challenge class. We've got Bruno Junqueira back into the lead of that class now for RSR. In 2nd place in the class is Brian Frizzell in the 06 car for the Core Autosport team. Good to see Bert Frizzell, I should say. Good to see Bert here in that car, and of course he's got a 100% record in ALMS.
Number 2 Audi has come to a stop on pit road. Alan McNish is getting out of the car, and Tom Christensen now climbing behind the wheel. No one has more success at Sebring than Tom Christensen. He has 6 wins in total. He says coming to this race at the beginning of the year, it could not get off to a better or tougher start. While 24 Hours of Le Mans is a very grueling race, he says racing here at Sebring with all of the traffic and the bumps is the most exhausting race. They have to be here normal stop, new set of Michelin. Diesel fuel complete, and Christensen is ready to go.
Again, you have just got to marvel at the work that these guys do in the pit lane. Audi are by no means unique in being able to turn their cars around as quickly as they do. He may hang on to the lead here as Christensen has got in that car. Mr. Le Mans, 8 times a winner there. The one car is what we need to look for. Andre Lotterer, there he is. This is going to be a bit tight. Tom coming out on new Michelins. He cut across the blend line, all 4 wheels there, and he's hasty to get out as he went round the corner, but he's held on the lead, and a significant tactical advantage then gained by the number 2 car. McNish early on, and now Christensen have made their pit stop and are still in the lead. Held up very badly there, Lotterer, behind the battery tenders 023 car, the Alex Job Racing GT Challenge car.
And as Marino Franconi said a little while ago, that consistency of Alan McNish is what proved the difference there. He was just slicing his way through traffic and I'm sure taking some risks to do it, perhaps, but not in his eyes, I'm sure.
No.
But he's certainly pushing hard. Was Alan McNish during that stint, and it's paid off. He's now in the lead of the race.
Looking forward from Andre Lotterer. Can we see his teammate ahead? Yes, we can. There he is. How long is it going to take to get those tyres up to temp that Christensen has just slapped on, and what sort of performance disadvantage does he have right now to Lotterer?
Well, it takes a good while with the bigger tyres, especially as these tyres are developed for running straight out of the ovens, which we don't run here. I'm not sure if the FIA runners are allowed to run them, so they're not. So these tyres takes a good lap and a half to get proper, especially front pressure in. So you'll probably see Andre take the lead here, but I wouldn't really be too worried if I was the 2 car, because they're sitting pretty so far with the strategy that they've picked.
Yeah, they made an extra stop and they're still out in front.
Yeah, and so that means they've got extra fuel in the tank. They've got more, if nothing else, Jeremy, they've got more flexibility in their tactics. And oh my goodness me, either side. How video game was that? Christensen just about holding on, but Lotterer looming large in the left-hand mirror will go down the inside here. Now, will Tom let him go? No, he will not. Right in front of the Audi hospitality and their invited guests. The Great Dane slamming the door comprehensively on last year's Le Mans winner.
Yes, who's the boss here?
You can see the tyre temps coming up now. Tom's up to speed, so he's done a good job of getting the pressures up, but it's not easy with those big front tyres.
And what would he have been suffering then on that outlap? The car, feels lazy, doesn't want to turn in, not as dynamic as it should be?
You just can't carry. I mean, first of all, the rears will come up to temp first. First couple of corners, you've got very little front or rear grip, but very quickly with the torque and everything else, the rear tyres come up, and then you're just waiting for front grip, so you can brake quite well in a straight line, but then you can't carry the right amount of speed and you can't rotate in the middle of the corner, and you're just waiting for that front grip to come. The moment it does, as you see, you're straight back up to speed.
Now, and you're talking as if you know an awful lot about this, and of course you drove the major competitor to this car at the back end of last year because you were testing for Peugeot with a view to driving for them this year.
Yeah, so I got to try it first hand. Luckily we were having the tyres straight out of the oven, so I didn't have to worry too much about the tyre heating up, but there was a couple of times where I stayed stationary in pits maybe for a couple of minutes longer, and you could definitely feel the difference in the pressures coming up.
Christensen has managed to defend and now holds and indeed extends, if anything, his gap back to his teammate, which was just 0.099 across the line, and it's going to be something close to a second, maybe 3/4 of a second to a second as he comes down. Those bumps are just brutal. Talking to a few spectators, or particularly at turn 1, the Audis do seem to ride the bumps noticeably better than some of their competitors. There's the guys watching the same pictures, or no, catching some Zs.
I mean, although this car's never raced here last year, when we stayed on to do a 24-hour simulation with the HPD car last year, they put away the 15 and they had the 18 out, doing durability testing here, so they know their way around this track with this car. So although it's first time racing here, they've got a really good amount of data from previous tests.
And indeed, Audi, among others, will be staying on to do exactly the same on Monday and Tuesday here with the 18 Ultra and the e-tron Quattro.
And we're here with the Nissan Delta Wing as well, so it's going to be exciting to run on track with these guys.
Oh, problem for what was the class-leading GTC car. This is the Green Hornet. Now, what happened here?
Is he just out of the pits? It was like cold tyres and overcorrected. I'm not.
I don't think so. No, no. It's Peter Lasafra. The good news is it's the boss. It's Peter Lasafra at the wheel of that car, but certainly, a major off-course excursion there, and tough to see a cause of it.
Right. Well, Damien Faulkner has given over the car to Peter Lasafra, and look at him looking in that rear-view mirror, glancing down at the dials, very busy in the cockpit. Peter, not a full-time racer, and when we get to see the onboards of another windscreen wiper going there for Andre Lotterer, that special fluid that we were hearing about earlier on, the specially designed wiper blade as well to stay on the screen. When you get to see one of the pro drivers, look how much more calm they are in the cockpit. I was watching the onboards of Lewis Hamilton. Spoiler alert, if you don't know what happened in F1, just plug your ears for a moment. And Hamilton's inputs to the McLaren on his pole lap were tiny, almost as if he was using the weight transfer of the car to turn it rather than actually the steering wheel, almost just willing it. And that's the difference, isn't it, behind the wheel?
Well, when you're comfortable in the car, you use a lot less energy. So that's a difference that you see there. The pros are just a bit more relaxed.
Number 51 car in the pits, that's had a lengthy delay. Also in the pits, I gather, and in fact going back to the garage area now, in the number 17 car, Brian Sellers had taken over from Wolf Henser after a magnificent early stint, and tremendous work by that team to get it out after the engine failure this morning in the warm-up. But unfortunately now that car has gone behind the wall.
Did lead.
It did lead.
This is Antonio Garcia in the pit lane with a little bit of debris on the front of that car. I was going to say damage.
Jordan Taylor now getting in the car as Antonio Garcia gets out. Jordan Taylor, the new kid on the team, got that magic phone call that everybody's hoping they get one day. The son of Wayne Taylor, so he's got plenty of lineage, knows what to do in sports cars, but very excited to be a part of this team. Now they've got the driver change complete. He's in, getting himself in for the first time that he's going to be racing in this car. They go to work, put everything together. So far for this team, everything's gone fairly smooth.
Just about got the computer wire off the right-hand side. I'm not sure he had his belts completely done there.
Well, he had the belts done. What had happened was the right-hand side one, when they'd loosened it off, which you want to loosen it as much as possible, but the adjuster had jammed in the mechanism there, so he's going to have to give it a really good pull to get it out of there, but he'll get that sorted, I'm sure.
Yeah, factory Chevrolet driver at 20 years of age. That's amazing. I don't know whether I'd ever thought I'd hear that, because...
That's
but Jordan Taylor, yeah, he's a star. I mean, he's a great young man. In and out of the car, he is a class act. And he's been driving in the Rolex Series last year. Very nearly won the championship, actually, driving with Bill Lester in a Camaro. And now switching, he's got this great opportunity this year to do the long-distance races with the factory Chevy Corvette.
Look how quick it is in a straight line. The Lotus not able to get by as they were going by Peter Lasafra in the 34 GTC Porsche. This is looking back from Jordan Taylor. Yes, he got the call at 20 years old, but he's deserved this.
Oh boy, he has.
This shows you exactly what I'm talking about, though. The straight line speed is not different enough between these prototypes and the GT cars, so it all comes down to braking in the middle of the corner. And the GT cars are braking very closely to they have performance comparable to the prototypes now there.
Here's a prototype challenge car coming up behind Jordan. This is the Merchant Services Racing number 7 car that you can see. In fact, Jordan's probably got that view too, because he has an electronic rear view mirror, by which I mean a TV screen. And you can see here there's absolutely no chance. Interesting, of course, that car behind, different looking car, but using a very similar engine to the Corvette. It is a GM block, a V8 LS Series engine. And you can see now, as the Vet gets into its stride, it's giving up nothing at all. And watch as we go through the final corner, because he'll actually gain ground in the middle section of the corner because he has more mechanical grip. He's not actually... Well, that guy was pulling in the pit, so that wasn't a particularly good illustration. But he's not relying, Marino, on the aero so much as the prototype cars are.
No, I think... Also, I'm looking at it a different way these days, because I think that the GT cars have become a lot more aero efficient. They've got a lot more downforce. They've always been mechanically very good. You see that in the wet sometimes when they're sort of all over the back of prototypes. Where they're better now is mechanically they've always been fantastic, but they've got even more aero downforce now. So I think that's, from my perspective and racing against them, where I've seen the improvements.
Battle in GT for 4th position, the BMW has it. Jörg Müller and Stefan Mucker in the Aston Martin wants it. And they're going to be swamped in a moment by a whole host of PC cars and prototypes. Keep an eye to the right-hand side here as Jörg Müller, as we're looking forward from the 155 BMW, or I-55 I think we should call it, as we're in the States. It sounds like it should be on a freeway. Now wait, there he is. That's the ex-Genoa racing car, isn't it, going through on the outside? Oh my goodness me! As he still managed to hold on to 4th position. And the key thing here, Marino, as Jeremy and I were talking about at the start of the programme, you've got to have patience. Patience if you're the guy doing the passing, patience if you're the guy being passed. Because there's a skill to being passed as much as there is to pass.
We've got a PC car off there on the exit of 5, I think.
Yeah.
Just to the left.
And there was the lack of patience that we were talking about.
Yeah. It's about patience and respecting that these other guys have got their own race going on.
And that was a great move down the outside by Stefan Mucker. And he may have just got the nose of the Aston ahead. No, he hasn't. He's had to drop back in behind. Yeah, as I said, there is a skill to being passed as much as there is to passing. Because right now, Mucker really doesn't want that 025 Dempsey Racing car in between him and the BMW. That's exactly what he's got.
It's not what he wants, but what he's got to think is, okay, that guy's got to get past the BMW as well. Is there going to be an opportunity for me when that happens? So he's lost a little bit of ground here, but it'll ebb and flow and it'll come back to him.
Aston Martin, they were aiming for a top 5 finish in GT in this race. That was their goal coming into it.
Sitting in 5th now.
And they're sitting in 5th now in the early stages. I mean, that's a tremendous run that they've put together with very minimal testing. Like I said a little while ago, just a shakedown at Donington in the wet, and then a test for a couple of days at Road Atlanta before they came here for this week. But the drivers have been pretty happy with the car. They've been chipping away at it and just getting faster and faster. And that was a great lap that Stefan Bucher put down yesterday. I think he put him 9th in the class in GT, as we see the number 4 car now, 3rd place.
Into the pit lane, out of 3rd position. Rick de Bruyne is down there waiting for the Corvette.
That's right, the number 4 Corvette comes in. Remember, the sister car came in just a moment ago. Very routine stop. Team says everything's going fine. They are going to do a driver change. In this case, they got Richard Westbrook getting in the car, Tommy Milner getting out. Important to point out, when they start going to the tires, these front tires are now full-size tires on the front end. Remember, they were running smaller tires last year. Some of the cars, like the BMWs, running the larger diameter front tires. This year, this team has now gone to the larger diameter front tire. They build up more heat, working with the car differently, trying to get it to work. But so far, they've been very happy with the way both the tires have worked and this new car has worked.
When you talk about attention to detail, which you have to with all of these teams, just look very carefully on that left headlight right at the top, tiny little green tab. And just as the windscreens, and we were hearing about how many tear-offs there are on Audi windscreens this year, just as the windscreens have tear-offs, so do the headlights. Now you might think, why? Well, eventually it's going to get dark here, and it's going to be dark for a significant proportion of the end of the race. And when it gets to that situation, Corvette can then peel off that piece of tape, which is effectively what it is, clear tape, and therefore the headlights are far more efficient. At the moment they have to be on, that's part of the regulations, but they're not actually illuminating anything. They will have focused those headlight beams exactly where they want to do. And Marino, it makes it, and off has gone the WeatherTech Alex Job Racing Porsche, one of the GTC cars, but that's a left rear puncture. Left rear puncture for that car.
And that's the leader in
is that Lee
GTC,
Keane?
yeah.
That is Lee Keane. He's had a great run of poles and victories here.
Yep, they had a 4-second lead over the gold car, the JDX car. And look, you see that left rear puncture. He's going to have to, he's got another good mile and a half to get that car back to the pit lane. He's got to try and make sure he doesn't do any more damage to the left rear corner of that car.
This must be so frustrating, yes. Marino, as a driver. You've got a problem. You want to get back to the pits, but there's a very, very fine balance between how fast you can drive without destroying the back of the car.
Yeah, and Le Mans in 2010 at Highcroft, we decided that if we didn't have eyes on the car and we had a puncture, I had to drive all the way from Dunlop all the way back to the pits, and we decided 60 k's an hour was what we would do, and it took forever, but we had no damage, and that's what you have to do, because we still lost less time then than we would have. Looks like he's actually damaged the suspension as well.
I'd agree with that.
He was on the curbs there as well. He had to jump over the curbs there.
He's got to slow down because it's just breaking up now. And it's going to take out the whole back of the car if he doesn't back it down a little bit.
You've driven Porsches before, and there's a lot of stuff around the back of there that you don't want to damage.
Absolutely,
he's going way too fast, isn't he?
Yeah, it's really hard, but he's got the mirror there, so he should be able to feel and see what's going on.
Listen to the team shouting at him on the radio.
Well, yeah, but doesn't it feel like you're going at walking pace?
It does, but again, you've got to be very what's the word? Patient
like
again. Yeah, you got to be patient. But you got to have the discipline to know you have to slow down, because that's now going to take a lot longer than just changing the tire.
Look at how the shards of rubber become like a whip And it's absolutely flaying the bodywork and the rear valance, and of course what you can't see is what's going on inside there, that wheel as well. That's the very outside portion of the wheel.
I mean, look at Vettel last year when he had his puncture in Abu Dhabi. He had to park the car because he'd gone too quick, tyre come apart, and it just takes out too many parts that you, as you say, you don't see that are underneath the skin of the car. So yeah, it's going to be a real mess by the time he gets it back here.
That's frustrating for Alex Job Racing. Just they're based just down the road here, and they've had tremendous success here at the Sebring 12 Hours. They won this race, what, 5 times I think it is, isn't it?
But this is a long race, so they can certainly come back from this. You know, as you say, the Alex Job team are top drawer, so they'll get this thing back out there as quick as they can, and hopefully not lose too much time.
Got a quick flash of a ESM Ferrari coming into the pit lane. That was Ed Brown from 10th position in the GT category. Should mention the Krone Racing Ferrari. We haven't seen the bright green Kermit. Nick Johnson is in that car and leading GT arm. That is the Black Swan prototype that is off the road.
Probably going to bring out a caution, perhaps.
Well, unless he can get reverse, yes.
The thing is, it's whether you want to get reverse, because the reverse gear is always tiny, so you've got to be very gentle as you pull it back.
Oh, really?
Because what you see is if people spin the wheels on... here we go.
Oh, that's the same place.
I think he's just out of the pits. I would say he's on cold tyres.
Cold tyres. He hasn't actually hit anything there. And he's got back underway, looking for damage around the left front, non-seen. But we've
done
used
a good
to
job
see,
there.
Yeah, we're looking to seeing these colour schemes, Jeremy, on a GTC car. It actually translates quite nicely to a P2 car, but that's a big jump for the team.
That's right, 2-time champions in GT Challenge, Black Swan Racing. Tim Pappas, he is the team owner. He has just taken over the wheel of that car. As you can see, he was off the road there. That's going to cost them some time. They've been running well. They don't have much time in that car. It's a Lola chassis with an HPD twin turbo engine. That's the same car actually that finished 3rd at Le Mans last year with level 5.
More problems. This time it's the 49 car, and that is the PCOM Racing. New livery for PCOM this year, Luis Perez Compangs team, and he's backed up with a couple of decent drivers. Soyela Yari has done a little of a jump across from a similar car last year. Let's catch up on some more pit action whilst we're keeping an eye on this. Our newest member of the ESPN3 team here is TK. Taro, how's it going down in the pits? What you got for us?
Hello, so number 022 just came in. We're looking at, I think it's just tire damage, as all they had to do was change a tire and head right out. I'm really sorry.
Well, that's certainly good news if there is no more supplemental damage there. The bodywork certainly was damaged, but not a lot they can do about that left rear corner of the car.
There is the car back out again with a bit of racer tape. Where would we be without tie wraps and racer tape? You know, all the technology in motor racing. And I was joking with Duncan Dayton of Highcroft, Marino, about the Delta Wing project, and said, you know, do you have to have the lightest racer tape and tie wraps as well? In the pit lane is the 155. This is the BMW. Rick de Bruyne is overseeing this pit stop.
Yeah, and what a difference a year makes. Remember last year at this race, BMW just pretty much dominated. They took it early, had a few minor issues in the beginning, but overall were able to do pretty much what they wanted. Today, it's a different story. This car, pretty much the same car that they ran last year, not overdeveloped, but they're going to have a ways to go to catch up. Nice clean pit stop for these guys.
Dyson Racing in as well from 9th position for Guy Smith, the Yorkshireman, 2003 Le Mans winner. There are the eyes of the Yorkshireman, been doing a bit of classic rallying in the winter to keep his driving skills up to date, driving a beautiful Mark II Ford Escort. Yes, really, his dad's got a lovely Mark I and was out on the Roger Albert Clark Rally over the winter, and that's what he did to keep himself smart. See, he stayed well to the right of that blend line when Tom had gone across it, and it is Tom Christensen who is leading by 2.3 seconds from Andrea Lotterer, and they are on lap number 68 at the moment. It's a great view from the front of that Mazda-powered Lola. 2 new Lola chassis for Dyson for 2012.
Yeah, that's right, and it's been very impressively quick this week as that car, and we saw Chris Dyson started off fairly conservatively. Chris, since handing over the car from Chris Dyson to Guy Smith, Guy's really upped that pace dramatically, and he's been turning some very quick laps. I think he got the best of a 151.4, so still they can go a lot faster than that, but they're just building themselves in. They're a lap down to the leaders, but a couple of laps down to the leaders. They won't be too worried about that at this stage, but the important thing for them, their eyes are on the season-long championship. Dyson Racing won it last year. They want to do it again, and so they know that they can't afford to give up any points here at Sebring.
Just looking down the timing and scoring, we are in the midst of another round of pit stops. Looking at the performance of the number 12 Lola Toyota, the Rebellion car, Nicola Prost, Nico in that car at the moment in 7th, but they are off kilter with everybody else. They have been as high as, I think, 4th position. Interesting to see that those guys are doing, again, a slightly different strategy. Their other car fell by the wayside, I'm afraid, the 13 early on with that very long stop with the gearbox actuator, wasn't it? But that car went by the wayside with. But there is the Dyson car, the 016 as it is for this race. And here is second place Andre Lotterer into the pits for Audi, already picking up the battle scars and bits of rubber around the front end of that car.
Andre Lotterer has come to a stop, and he will stay behind the wheel of the car. This team being led by Brad Kettler. They've made the decision. It's going to be a fuel-only pit stop. Brad Kettler's main job within Audi Sport right now is he is training the next generation for Audi Sport. He has Lena Gade as the engineer. Lena became the first woman to engineer a Le Mans winning car. If she wins today, she'll be the first woman to engineer a Sebring winning car. So the car already back out, clean windshield, and a full tank of diesel.
Yeah, super stop there by Audi Sport, and Andre Lotterer will resume. He'll lose the position. He'll resume in 3rd place. Lucas Luhr is back up to 4th now for Muscle Milk Racing in the HBD. 5th place, number 15, Bertrand Baguette in the Oak Pescarolo car of Oak Racing. So that is the top 5 as we stand at the moment. Karun Chandhok for JRM. They got that car up into 6th place. It was started by David Braben. They started from the pit lane, but that too, 15 and a 22, I think both started from the pit lane for different reasons. The 15 car had to because it failed tech in after qualifying, failed the airbox test. But both of those cars have been running very, very nicely in the first 2 hours and 15 minutes or so of this race.
Danny Watts, by the way, back up into 9th in the Stracker car. Remember, they were delayed with a stop-goal penalty for too many men over the wall when poor Johnny Kane had to be helped from that car with a problem. I wonder, I'm casting my mind back to when I was at Snetterton with those guys on the rollout. They were doing an awful lot of work trying to get themselves comfortable in the car, and as we were watching the 59 of Fred McAvickie in the luxury racing car, I just wonder if his seat wasn't quite comfortable enough for him. And the 71 of Bertolini leads GT with Jamie Mello, in fact, in that 3rd place car. Ahead of him, the Aston is in 2nd.
Yeah, the
place.
Aston is in 2nd.
Yeah, 2nd place for Aston Martin. That does pretty well for me. There are your leaders in category. And the Audis holding sway here at Sebring for now.
I'm Paul Miller, owner of the 48 Porsche. Porsche has had many, many successes, more than any other manufacturer here at Sebring over the years, and a little bit later we'll be touching on all those successes.
Usually when a car maker turns one of its models into a race car, they have to add power. But when Chevrolet wanted to race the 638 horsepower Corvette ZR1 against Porsche, Ferrari, and BMW, we were asked to dial it back. Oh, about 168 horsepower. You know, just to be fair.
Duck. Duck. Goose.
Our technology builds some of the best tires in the world, because when it comes to performance, We don't just play around.
Cheater, we said no 360s.
Who's up for some leapfrog?
When it comes to fun family getaways, it's got to be Holiday Inn Club Vacations. Room to be yourself.
The American Le Mans Series, presented by Tequila Patron. The fusion of man, mind, and machine in the ultimate test, where the fight for first is around every corner and the sole focus of every driver. It's 100% adrenaline because the battle for the win is everything. And there's only one place in North America to see the thrills of Le Mans. It's the American Le Mans Series, presented by Tequila Patron. Coming at you on ABC, ESPN 2, and ESPN 3.
Welcome back to Sebring, and the American Le Mans Series and Chevrolet Corvette have teamed up once again for the sports car fans' dream. Grand prize of a 2013 Chevrolet 427 Corvette convertible 60th anniversary special edition and an all-expense-paid VIP insider trip to the 24 Hours of Le Mans. Go to www.racetowincorvette.com for your chance to win the ultimate sports car fan's dream prize. And no, Jeremy, you are not allowed to enter. Racetowincorvette.com. Yes, please. And there is its racing stablemate. As into the pit lane has come third place GT runner, the BMW number 56.
Bring it in. So far, things are going relatively smoothly for this team, minus a few stop-and-go penalties they've had to endure, but everything overall going very well. In this case, they've got Dirk Mueller getting out of the car, Joey Hand getting into the car. Important to remember that this year, Joey Hand is a part-timer for this team. He's going to be running the DTM, the German Touring Car Series, so he's not going to be in this car all year long. As a result, he's here. Let's think of him as a hired hand for BMW in this race. Nice clean pit stop, and he's away.
That's a good point, actually. Both he and Andy Prio in BMW's squad for the German Touring Car Championship, the DTM. Using what looked to be a spec Dallara chassis for those cars. Panels on the top. Interesting series. So, at the head of the field, Tom Christensen keeps up the pace, and Romain Dumas in the number 4 car, I think, has just lost a lap. He has indeed, to the leader. Lucas Loehr is now the first car off the lead lap. So Romain Dumas has had a problem. A 2:15.4 last time around for Romain would suggest to me that the number 3 Audi R18 had some kind of issue on lap number 70 for him, fallen off the lead lap, lost third place, and had his teammate go by him.
Yeah, we're doing his out lap because he just come on a pit lane, hadn't he, previous time? He came on lap 68. So lap 69 you would expect to be slow, but lap 70 you would expect to be pretty much up to speed, Marino.
Absolutely. It's be interesting to see if we can find what happened around that lap.
Ooh, he's looking very loose through one as he goes by the 44 Flying Lizard with Andy Lally at the wheel. Karen Chandok now, Formula 1 refugee, up into 5th position in that 22 GRM HPD. Interesting battle again between the petrol-powered cars, and going forward in the WEC. I'm kind of excited by that. The American Le Mans Series goes to a very different racetrack next, and that is Long Beach. 36 cars, I think, is the maximum that we can have around there. And at the moment, Lucas Loehr and Greg Pickett and the rest of the Muscle Milk team, Marino, I think, will be absolutely delighted with the performance of their new HPD, sitting very cosily indeed in 4th position.
Absolutely. I think also the GRM guys will be the same because they've only had it for a week. So it's a pretty impressive performance.
And indeed, Romain Dumas has gone back past Lucas Lowe, which again would suggest to me that he'd had a problem on that previous lap. So the 3 Audis are once again 1, 2 and 3, but Romain Dumas off now, the lead lap, so only Audis 2 and 1. Let's get down to the pit lane where the JDX Porsche is in the pit lane and Taro is there.
The JDX Porsche has just come in. They've been running pretty smoothly up until now. And Cummings is going in.
Service for the leader.
Excellent stint by Kevin Estre there, who's the pro driver at the wheel of this fabulous looking car. I'm not sure how well it comes across on TV, but that gold there is look at that, it's just a spectacular car. And a great stint by Kevin Estre, and now Chris Cumming, who's going to be doing the full season in this car, and with his eyes on the championship. And interesting character is Chris Cumming. He's from Vancouver area in British Columbia, and he's a kind of an extreme athlete as well. Does a lot of triathlons and all that.
Oh, he's not another Andy Lally street luge, throwing him, Gunnar Jeanette throwing himself off tall building things, is he?
You name it.
We have got some adrenaline junkies in the American Le Mans series, and when you see what they do on their quote-unquote days off, it's like, guys, just get on the sofa, put your feet up, you've worked hard. Don't be climbing up things to throw yourself off it. That is a stunning car, though.
Yeah, it is, and he's going to hand the lead back, I think, in the class. Perhaps, I'm not sure, he might have been able to get out and maintain the lead, actually. He had a good lead over Peter Lasafra, still so in second place in that number 34 car, the Green Hornet car that started by Damien Faulkner. Townsend Bell has taken over the battery tender car for Alex Job Racing, the 023, and running third place in the class. Also, we were talking about class leaders on the pit lane. We just saw the PC leader, no, the PC second car, the car number 18, Ricardo Vera for Performance Tech Motorsports. He was just on pit lane a lap or two ago, giving up second place in the class, having been closing on the 025 for Dempsey Racing, with Henry Richard driving at the moment.
Yeah, I should mention those two challenge classes, both the PC and the GTC, and there is the PC category, just to the left of your screen.
It was there. It's going so fast.
There it is, Dempsey Racing 025. These by no means are poor relations, and they've been a real great addition. But both the PC and the GTC category, you must have a driver who is designated as a non-professional, and that would be either a silver or a bronze driver in the way that the drivers are categorised. And it's really interesting how different teams manage the different performance levels of those drivers. It's a great way to get gentleman drivers, non-full-time drivers, some of these guys, because their pace, Marino, of some of these guys has been pretty good.
Absolutely. I think both in these two classes and the P2 class, where you have to have non-professional drivers, for example, the Star Wars car.
Yeah.
Their gentleman driver is very close to the pace of the top two drivers. Scott Tucker, you've got guys out there that are doing fantastic jobs, and this is a great way for the PC class, the GTC class, to get guys introduced to our sport. And as they get more experience, they can move on to P2, move on to the GTM class. It's a good ladder that we've got going now.
It is, and Henri Richard is a perfect example of it. He's driving this car right now. But he is a gentleman driver. PC, he started off in GTC, won some races with Andy Lally a couple of years ago for TRG. Last year he drove both in the Grand Am Series and also a few races in PC. Of course, he won at Petit Le Mans with Ryan Lewis and the other guys there. So
well, and also, as Marino made the point, and I think it's also worthwhile making the point about how it trains and gets teams involved, like Dempsey Racing stepping up to P2, like Level 5, who have also, of course, started in that category and moved up to P2. That's a second place car. That's Ken Dobson, Ken's been around the block a few times. He's, I think, still chief instructor over at what is now back to being Sonoma, the Sim Raceway Performance Racing Centre there. Knows his way around a racing car. Had a pretty good run, I seem to remember, at Baltimore last year, and he's back to doing some full-time racing again.
Yeah, and he was part of that winning team at Petit last year.
Yeah, absolutely.
Richard and...
That's 52 car, resplendent in its blue and carbon colours. I mean, there's been some good drivers, Marino, who have pedalled the PC cars, including people like Butch Leitzinger, Andy Wallace, and they've all pronounced them a pretty decent machine.
Yeah, all the guys, Gunnar Jeanette, all these guys that I've spoken to about these cars, they really enjoy driving them. You know, Butch is in there for the full year with this team, I believe, this season, and he really enjoyed his run out at Road America last year, and is looking forward to this whole season.
Marino Franchitti with us. Full course caution has just come out here at the 60th annual Mobil 1 12 Hours of Sebring, and it is for the number 37. That is the Conquest Endurance Racing team. That car is in a dangerous position, and my goodness me, is it right in the braking area for the right-hander at the hairpin.
Well, here we are, 2 hours 30 minutes into the race. We've done 75 laps, and this is only the second caution of the day, so that's been a long green flag stint here, and you know, bodes well for the rest of the race, I hope.
Into the pit lane for the number 4 car. Now, the pits are not open, however, they have asked for special dispensation, and this is within the rules. There you can see the proof that the pits are not open on the left. It's 5 seconds of fuel only. This is what's termed an emergency pit stop. They were close to the end of their fuel run. The yellow flag comes out, so they have the choice. In the old days, they would have had the choice to run out of fuel on the track.
Yeah, in fact, they had just been talking on the radio. They were about to do a fuel-only stop, and when they got to the point when the yellow came out, they were at that point. They had to come in the car. The driver was saying, "Should I come in? Should I come in?" He says, "We've got to do an emergency. All we need is 5 seconds, but we have to do an emergency stop." Sometimes a yellow flag can be the worst timing, even though you need to make a pit stop.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. In the old days, as I said, he would have had the choice of either running out of fuel on the track or coming in and taking a penalty. Now, yes, he's lost some real estate, but at least he's got the fuel and is able to carry on until the pits become open again. And I understand it's still going to be frustrating for Greg Pickett and the team, but it's a way better option than what would have happened in the past.
True, but bad timing, as you say, because that car's been running absolutely beautifully. They're in 4th place, and you don't want to have to go to the back of the pack now. That's very frustrating. I think Julien Jus, also car number 16 for Pescarolo Sport, also was in the pits as well, presumably for the same reason.
On board with the 95, and now switching back to the BMW, Crown Plaza BMW. The drivers must hate this. And now Rob Bell, sporting the black and white colours of Newcastle United as a proud Geordie. Refugee from McLaren at the moment, of course. He's a McLaren factory driver, getting some GT experience.
Moonlighting here, yes.
Do you know why that
McLaren
might
and
be?
GT?
Yes.
It's going to GT3 car this year, but next year, wow, are we going to see a GTE car, GT2 car, GT car?
Yeah,
Could
absolutely.
be.
Peter Lasafra there, just checking to see, I think, where the air is coming in. Maybe he doesn't like that on his face. I do like the fact that they've got the BMW Motorsport wheel there with the stitching on the middle of the wheel to show. It shows them where straight up and ahead is, but it's very much like the street cars. And notice the piping there, all of the ducting, trying to get some cooler air onto the drivers. That is a Guy Smith in the 016 Dyson. So there is the tow rope and the car going down the back straight there, or almost to the back straight. So we're not missing any action at the moment. Let's go back and take a look back through the years where Porsche has dominated at Sebring. Take this opportunity to take a closer look at the legacy that those Porsche cars share.
I mean, we're racing Porsche 911s. It's continuously evolved through the years and perfected the breed. And nobody does that better than Porsche.
When I stand in pit lane and I look up behind us where all the overall winners are listed along the complete front straightaway, I think about Porsche's success, especially in the 60s, 70s. It had to be reliability. Everything that Porsche's ever put into their motorsport has also gone into their road cars, and it's about being small, lightweight, efficient, and there at the end.
When I was racing, you would drive the cars at a 90 or 95% pace. Your first goal was to save the car, to be easy on the clutch, to be easy on the gearbox, to pace the tires. Today, it's a 12-hour sprint race. These cars are going to be running literally within a second of their qualifying times for 12 hours. The face of endurance racing has changed dramatically because it's literally a 12-hour sprint race.
That is the nature of the beast for endurance racing now, whether it's 6, 12 or 24, they become sprint races. We're so used to the reliability. Well, we're working a full course caution. Everyone up behind the special anniversary Corvette safety car. There are your class leaders, and we'll be back hopefully with some racing action next.
Everything we ever thought of. Everything we fight for. Everything we dream of. Everything we are. The new 911. Porsche Identity. To get 40 miles per gallon, most car makers compromise performance. But we're Mazda, and we don't compromise. The Mazda 3 with Skyactiv technology gets 40 miles per gallon highway without economy buttons or compromising how it drives. We build Mazdas. What do you drive? Now get the Mazda 3 with 0.9% APR for a limited term.
Be the first to wear the latest trends of the American Le Mans Series presented by Tequila Patron. The official photo or poster t-shirts are available in 5 different colors, or you can purchase Roger Warwick's t-shirt featuring the past 59 Sebring winners. Also, don't forget to grab the 60th annual Sebring event poster and stop by the paddock to get all your favorite driver signatures. The ALMS merchandising booth will be selling all of your favorite limited edition Sebring items throughout the day. And for those of you at home, be sure to check out ALMS.com to purchase your piece of Sebring history.
Well, it's a beautiful day here in South Central Florida for the 60th running of the Mobil 1 12 Hours of Sebring, fueled by Fresh from Florida. The wave around underway, as you can see by the relative speeds of those cars that we saw to start with, and then this bunch of cars.
Yeah, and for those who are not regular viewers or joining in for the first
Audi
time.
in the pit. This is the number one. In fact, it's the 1 and 2 cars in the pits right from the head of the field, as you might expect, as soon as the pits became available to the prototype cars.
Audi number 1 and Audi number 2, both in the pits at the same time. But as I said earlier, pit lane is extremely tight. Audi number 1 is at a bad angle, and they are doing a driver change. Benoit Trullier is getting behind the wheel, so the crew may have to push him back in order for him to get out. It is not a driver change. Tom Christensen is staying behind the wheel of the number 2, so different strategies going on down here, but with both cars in the pits at the same time, it is extremely tight. Driver change now complete on the number 1, and they're having problems with that rear tire. This stop taking much longer. The number 2 car did beat him out of pit lane.
And had to be pushed back to get out of his pit stall there, Jeremy. And that's how tight it is. There is the number 1 car. Oh, right out in front of the level 5 as it was coming in. That was tight on being what in Formula 1 circles would have been called an unsafe release. They're cutting the yellow line again there. It's the second time we've seen an Audi do that. It was Christensen last time. Let's keep an eye on him as he comes down towards us. And here he comes. Does he? I see this time. Stayed well to the left of it. Benoit Treluet in that car. Ben's an interesting character, actually. He's driven a lot of these type of prototypes for different manufacturers. Had a huge accident, I seem to remember, in a Pescarolo-run Peugeot at Le Mans, not of his making, I should mention, down at the bottom of the S's. That car might not be quite as iconic as the R8, but it certainly cuts a dash. And the new cars, I was having a good long look at the e-tron Quattro, on which the new Audi R18 Ultra will be based, of course. The completely new monocoque for those 2 cars when next the WEC audience sees them. Sadly not seeing them in the American Le Mans Series this year, so this is their only time on US soil.
Yeah, interesting there. The number 2 car, that was right on schedule for a pit stop for them. They're 23 laps since its last stop. It actually only did 22 last time, so they were right on the cusp there. And now it's interesting to see that number 1 and number 3 appear to be splitting their strategy, because the number 1 car was only halfway through its stint when it came in right now under this caution period. So interesting that they should choose to take on fresh tyres during that, after just half a stint for Andre Lotterer. Well, they didn't. I guess they didn't change tyres last time, so they elected to do that stint and a half on this tyres. And now Benoit Treluet will go out on fresh tyres.
GT can now make their pit stops, and Jeremy started to explain about the wave around. Basically, in any form of motor racing where you have more than one category, when the safety car comes out, sometimes you're the bug and sometimes you're the windshield. The American Le Mans Series have been very careful over the years to try and mitigate the effect, and so if you are caught behind the safety car and you've lost a lap to your leader, you're allowed to go back through, your class leader. And also because of the pit lane here and many other places being so small, they've split the prototypes and the GTs now.
Yeah, so basically anybody who's between the pace car and the class leader of each particular class is able to pull on around the pace car and go on and rejoin back behind the class leader. That's effectively how it works.
Yeah, so as I say, it mitigates the disadvantage. We were on board with the Muscle car. Why did he not come in to take fuel if he was so close? Well, part of the emergency service rules, there we are once again with Lucas Lurt. Part of the emergency service rules are that, yes, you can come and take 5 seconds of fuel, but you can't then come in until the pits are open for general pit callers. GTs are in, Rick de Bruyne is down at Corvette.
That's right, Jordan Taylor brings the car in, his very first pit stop as a Corvette driver. This is fuel and tires only, no driver change. As I said, he's going to stay put. They're very happy with the way the car is running so far. Relatively flawless, but not as fast as they need to be at this point. They start to move up, but they're making an adjustment. And they were making an adjustment when he almost started to go, and they had to stop him.
Now, what is that on his visor? Has he got some kind of camera on there?
Camera.
Or night vision goggles, maybe? I don't know. Apparently, just look on there, and we've circled that for you. That is a new camera that they're trying out, a head cam. We've seen head cams on various drivers in the past. This is an interesting departure, Rick.
Yeah, we've actually seen a number of them up and down pit lane with both drivers and crew guys. In fact, let's go over here for a second. I can see I've got one of the crew guys right here. If you look on the side of his head, he's got a camera right on the side of his head where he has the ability to tape and watch what's going on so they can record the pit stop. This way they know when they get back what he's done right, what he's done wrong. It's no different than almost getting telemetry for a driver, but for a crew guy to be able to have a camera on there so they can say, well, look, maybe next time we want to do this differently. We can do that differently to try to increase the quality of the pit stops. I've seen a number of these. What's really weird, though, is when you see them mounted on drivers' visors above their head.
Not the first time we've seen the in-helmet or on-helmet cameras. I remember Dario Franchitti driving with one inside his helmet, a little lipstick camera on the right-hand side of his head. There was a massive problem with that. He's got such long eyelashes, and the fisheye lens was so wide that all you could see was like looking out through prison bars all the time. And the technology just keeps moving on, and that's why we have these fantastic views from the onboards like this from the fourth place of Lucas Lowe. Now, aside from some of the coolest cars and the coolest technology around that we were just talking about, the American Le Mans Series takes pride in the fact that all this technology does transfer down from race cars to your road and street cars. Now, the information uncovered through racing, basically this is like a big science project here. It does make its way down to the average consumer. Johnny O'Connell took a look earlier in the week at another example of this ALMS phenomenon.
In the American Le Mans Series, one of the things we're always talking about is technology. Technology of the engines, technology of the tires, technology when it comes to aerodynamics. Today we're going to talk about technology of oil. Now, for 16 years, Mobil 1 has had a relationship with Corvette Racing and Pratt & Miller, using their products to improve Corvette's performance on the racetrack. But so many improvements take place in those 16 years. The oil that they actually used last year at the 24 Hours of Le Mans when they won, a 0W50 product. During the race, they can fill up the gearbox, they can fill up the engine with Mobil 1 oils. Now, what's really cool about this and what it means to you is these improvements lead to lower temperatures, better fuel economy. So, once again in the American Le Mans Series, we see technology that's used on the racetrack and then is used to improve passenger car performance.
Lucas Lowe brings the car in. This is the stop they wanted to do before they had to do their emergency stop. Interesting, you know, on your home tires on your car at home, you don't really pay much attention to what the pressure is. Could be 28, could be 30, could be 35. On a regular basis, you're not paying too much attention. Right before the car pitted, they had a big discussion about what to do with the air pressure in those tires you see going on right there. They debated over whether to drop the pressure 1/2 pound or 1 full pound. That little difference they felt was going to make a change that might make a difference on the track.
Unbelievable. When people talk about technology, as Johnny O just was there, that is the depth of technology that we're talking about. First of all, that they talk about that. Secondly, that they can deliver that is so accurate to be able to get 1/2 pound or 1 pound difference in the tyres. Amazing stuff. We're still under full course caution, as you can see here at Sebring International Raceway here in South Central Florida, with just under 9 1/4 hours to go. Let's quickly run you down the leaders. There is the 3rd place car of Romain Dumas, and helpfully it is number 3. Just fallen off the lead lap, and bad luck because in behind the safety car will be able to whiz back around if the wave by goes his way. It's Christensen leading, having completed 80 laps, from Ben Treluay in 2nd place, the number 2 and 1 Audis. In the P2 category, looking down to 11th place for Ryan Hunter-Reay in the 95 level 5 car. It's going to be a little while before we go back to green flag racing, so Jeremy and I will take a quick breath, and you can maybe top up your beverage as well, but come back and join us again, because we'll be back to green flag racing and setting some more historic content here from Sebring when we come back.
Sebring 1955 was one of the most exciting in endurance racing history. An astonishing 80 cars were allowed on the grid. It became obvious early on that it was to be a duel between the new D-Type Jaguar owned by Briggs Cunningham and driven by Phil Walters and Mike Hawthorne, and the Ferrari 750S Monza, driven by Carroll Shelby and Phil Hill. Those were the only cars that would lead the race, and they were never more than a minute apart for the entire 12 hours. When the checkered flag flew, it was Mike Hawthorne in the Jaguar who took the victory and was the first to win Le Mans and Sebring in the same year.
What do you drive? Is it Inspiring? Was it built by a behemoth car maker? Or insightful craftsmen obsessing over the details, building better cars for a discerning few? Are you one of the few who care about what you drive and how it drives? We're with you because we believe if it's not worth driving, it's not worth building. We build Mazdas. What do you drive?
Hi, I'm Dennis Gage, and I gotta tell you about a smart charging system that keeps my entire fleet of machines on call at all times. It's called Battery Tender, and it's not just for my classic cars. Deltran battery tenders have a microprocessor that monitors everything. It never overcharges. It just takes batteries up to a full charge and keeps them there. So whether it's cars, motorcycles, mowers, or ATVs, Battery Tender keeps them all ready for action. If it's not a Deltran battery tender, it's just a pretender.
The wind can run, but it can't hide.
Presenting the official American Le Mans Series merchandise collection. Inspired by the world leader in green racing. Represent your favorite series with authentic event shirts, hats, jackets, and other gear. It's available at every race in Vendor Village and, of course, at ALMS.com.